This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. Okay, we're back. Hello, everybody out there in radio land and internet land. Boy, it's neat when you can restart the show. Thanks to everybody in the chat room for telling us that we had no audio. But this is an amateur production all the way around. Hey, you want to welcome everybody to watch that's watching the show. You can watch it on W5KUB.com. That's for our shortwave listeners out there that are listening in on famous international shortwave station WBCQ on 9330 kilohertz. Coming to you from Monticello, Maine, up in the very top corner of the United States up there. Any further, Robert would be up in Canada. Now, Robert is in our chat room every night with us, and I've talked to Robert several times, and he has this English accent. So I asked him tonight if we could call him Sir Robert, and he said he prefers Lord Robert. So we're going to start calling him Lord Robert in the chat room. If you want to say hi to Lord Robert up at WBCQ, say some good words to him. He always does a great job in getting our show on the radio up here. And we should be on 9330 right now. If you would like to take a listen, send us a signal report. You can send it to email tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. Hey, at the top of our website, there's a link for Facebook. Join us on our Facebook broadcast group. It tells you who's going to be on the show next and what shows are out there, which ones you can see on our archive page and so forth. So join our Facebook group. Tonight we've got, I think, an interesting show. We've got several things going on. We're going to talk about HRO opening. We're going to talk about remote operating. And we're going to be talking about Jamboree on the air. So, I was reading the chat room. You can call me King Tom if you want to. All right. So let's see. Let's take it out and see if I can get Katie in here. Katie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing terrific, Tom. How are you? And hi to everybody who's watching tonight.
Yeah, great. I'm glad you're back. We missed you last week, and glad you got back with us again tonight. And where were you last week? You were playing hooky.
I was playing, last week, I think, my stepson was in town visiting, so I took the night off for some family time. We played a little bit of cards and had some dinner together, so it was a really nice evening.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. But you also, this weekend, the past weekend, you went up to Oregon. You want to talk about that?
That's right. Yeah, I did a little trip, left Thursday night, actually, and landed in Portland, Oregon about 11 o'clock at night to spend the weekend at the Ham Radio Outlet new superstore in Tigard, Oregon.
Okay, well, I've already seen a few pictures out there on Facebook. Yeah. I want you to tell us all about it. Did you have a good time up there?
I did. It was terrific. I didn't see much of Portland, unfortunately, but the store was impressive. I got to meet all the staff, lots of different customers that came in over a couple of days, even got on the air. So I've got some pictures to show from all of that. It was a lot of fun. I did a bunch of live video while I was there, both Facebook Live and Periscope on Twitter, which was something new we decided to give a try, and that went over really well. So that was a lot of fun, and it was a great way to give some views of what's going on at the store for people that were watching, and hopefully the same for tonight. I tried to save a few pictures that I didn't already put out there for people to see.
All right. Well, have you got any pictures you can show us tonight?
I do. I have a whole little presentation put together for you.
Well, let's do it, and I want to see what this place looks like up here.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's see how we flip over here. I've got my screen that I'm going to share with you, and since I can't see what's going on, are you seeing my presentation, Tom?
Well, you know what? I might be able to flip it here for you. Let's see.
Thanks.
How about that right there?
There it is.
Normally you could do it, but I was able to do it.
Excellent. Okay, well, so I just thought a quick little, welcome to Ham Radio Outlet. Oops, I went too far. So one of the neat things about our brand new location in Washington, sorry, my mouse is a little sketchy there. This is a brand new store that was built in this shopping mall, and look at what's right next door, but Harbor Freight Tools.
Oh man, that's
So
my
it's kind
place.
of I know, huh? That's like, heaven. I mean, the only thing that would have been better is if you had fries in the same plaza. That would have been like the trifecta of, ham happiness, I think. But if you take a look down here, so over here on the left is the ham radio outlet, and there's a little bit of the tower. But what I want to show you next is really kind of cool. Is That's a 108-foot crank-up U.S. tower in the back of the store. So when you drive down, you can't miss it. And that day, the wind wasn't really blowing too much, so you don't see the American flag that was up there. But you certainly can't miss it with that, and the addition of the other antennas that are on top of the building. Fortunately, the landlords were good with us putting those towers up. So I thought I'd take you a quick spot around the back of the store so you could see what was going on with that tower. So this is kind of standing below and looking up when you look over here on the left picture. So, like I said, it was really impressive to watch that go up. On the right, the photo is a kind of a screenshot from some of the live video I did as they were putting the tower up in the morning. It was all obviously roped off with safety tape, and when Ted, one of the staff members who seems to be kind of in charge of that, he was putting it up and taking it down. That thing is super, super quiet. I was really impressed on watching each of the pieces go up, and it just was literally, there was almost no sound at all to it. And what's kind of fun and exciting for us as here in Wyoming is one of our ham friends, some of the folks from California are actually going to be coming out to Field Day next year and bringing one of these 108-foot crank-up towers. So we are going to make sure we're heard during Field Day. So that was really impressive to watch and to take a look at. So back around the front of the store, when you walk in the door, here is, brand new big store. You take a look to the left, and there's a ton of products right smack in front of you. Take a look to the right, lots of MFJ products. There was Samlux, there's power supplies, no shortage of things to be seen. You walk up the aisle a little bit, and there's another row just full of products. As you can see, lots of Heil gear there, Rig Expert. There was just, again, it was just amazing though. There was actually one little empty spot there, and I kind of took that picture because it was like, wow, there's actually something, not there at the moment. But we really packed everything full and made sure we were ready for our grand openings. No shortage of choices. Along one of the long aisles, there's full of gear here. And on the back wall is all of the antennas and all the pieces and parts that go along with it. You can see along the wall, perhaps. I'm not sure how well it comes across, but still, again, the store is new. We're still getting some pieces and things put together, like some of the bigger signage for the different vendors, Diamond, Arrow, and Elk. They've got some small signage. Comet there with their green. You can't miss them. So that's, there's still little bits going on, but we are ready for the grand opening this weekend. There is definitely no shortage of coax down that aisle. Lots and lots of stuff. I mean, you just can't miss out when you're walking through there. If you need some antennas, again, Pulse Larson, who's in this photo, they were actually one of our vendor guests for the weekend here for the grand opening on Saturday. So we appreciated that we had Paul from Pulse that came by and participated for part of the day on Saturday. There's also a nice aisle. This is across from what I called the row of fun, which was the row of all of the radios. And so plenty of license manuals, various different instructional books, what have you. No shortage of books there. And then kind of standing, walking forward from all of those books. This is kind of the staff area. Basically, you can easily have 5 people back there without tripping over each other. Different cash registers, phones. So there's plenty of room for the staff to work, take care of customers. They can easily squeak out one side or the other. Then, of course, there's catalogs on the end and lots of neat little things like the bongo ties and coax seal. All those last minute things you realize that you might need when you get back home. Then there's also the back room, which you don't necessarily always see, but you can see there's tons and tons of stuff back there. And to the left is also the packing area. So our shipper was very busy. The entire time I was there, he was always packing up a box to be sent out the door, which was really kind of cool. They also have a workbench area. So if they need to test out, because people do come in with used equipment that they like to trade in or put on a consignment. So of course we need to test it out to make sure it works. So we had, Bill K7WCE was checking this out, and then, just horsing around a little bit, showing me how not to test out equipment by holding a bare end. But, you got to have a little fun when you're hanging out in the back area and working on a Saturday, of course, or a Friday. So speaking of Friday, this was towards the end of the day. We decided I'd get on the air and test out that 110-foot tower out back with the A3S up top and get on the air and call CQ. In the meantime, I also went live on Facebook while doing it. Needless to say, I think I spent about an hour. It was towards the end of the day, so, we were on Pacific Coast time, so it was already about 7 or 8 in the evening here on the East Coast. But there was no shortage of people to be had. I think in that time period I was on, I made, maybe 50 or 60 QSOs. Some people were just quick ones. Other people tried to chat with a little bit. But that seems to have been very popular. We've had 14,000 people watch that video so far, which is just honestly kind of mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
But that was really, I still kind of think, oh my gosh, how did that all happen? But that's kind of leading us into some other things that'll happen. But Saturday morning rolls around and we have to get ready for everybody to show up. Now there's, no cleaning people. The staff does all of that. So Bill pulled out the vacuum cleaner and Alexia is wiping down all the counters, make sure everything looks pretty, and we're get ready to go. Alexia is N7TOY, and I did a little video with her on Facebook or Periscope, and it was a lot of fun to talk with her and spend the weekend with her. She's just so enthused about ham radio. She's actually been a ham for 9 years, and got involved because she knew some people that were hams, thought it seemed like a fun hobby, and then she was going to college at the time. And wouldn't you know, she came by and the store had a help wanted sign in it. And Leon, W7AD, who's our store manager, said, well, we only hire hams. And she says, well, then I better buy a manual. So sure enough, she studied and came back. Job was still available, and she's been there ever since, and absolutely loves it. And the customers really loved being around her as well. She's just a lot of fun, and really glad to have spent some time with her this weekend. So now it's time for the grand opening, Saturday morning. Yeah, Friday, it was nice and sunny and warm, beautiful day. Saturday morning, rain. But apparently, according to everybody in Portland, that wasn't really rain yet that morning. That was just a little bit of a drizzle. So everybody said, just buck up, Katie. We're used to the rain. It'll be fine. It's not going to stop anybody from coming. So we set up a tent, a little pop-up tent, just to the side of the door where Alexia spent the day rallying people as they came in, giving away raffle tickets. One thing I like to point out, if you can see it okay, it's kind of neat. In the front of the store, you'll see the little ham radio only signs there. And actually, in the painted out as well, it says ham radio only. Next door to HRO is a bottle returning facility. And that place is a madhouse from start to close. And so they were able to work it out with the landlord that they were able to mark off spaces just for the store so that our customers actually had a shot of getting in the door without having to park in Timbuktu in order to get there. On the right here was at the beginning of the day as Alexia was getting set up under the tent. It wasn't raining too hard yet. And she was just talking to Paul from Larson about what was going to be happening that day. So we did have vendors that came in, just like all of our grand opening Saturdays. We had on the left is Mark from ABR Industries and his daughter-in-law Shannon, who works with him at the store. And then behind him was Paul from Pulse Larson. And then on the right is my boss, the national sales manager, Steve Gilmore, W4SHG. And another nice thing was that ABR picked up the lunch for us. So we had Subway sandwiches and cookies, and I won't admit to how many cookies I had, but I have to say those raspberry cheesecake ones were there, and those are my favorite. So a couple of them found their way into my plate. But you almost can't avoid those cookies. So then we did, every time we did prize drawings, we had prizes every half an hour. So I would always go live with that. I either did it on Facebook or Periscope. And this is Jason from Samlex, and he was pulling one of the tickets. They donated quite a few prizes to the day, and Jason was there. I don't think he hardly sat down all day. People were visiting with him constantly, asking questions about their power supplies, and he had a solar panel display outside, which of course didn't do a whole lot of good on a rainy day, but it was really interesting to learn. And he'll actually be with us next month in Milwaukee again. So this was kind of a neat little story I want to share. On the left there is Pat, W1DUK. He is the assistant store manager. And he was there. On the other side of him is Byron, Kilo Golf 7 November Zulu Tango. Now, the guy on the right, his name was Rich. He showed up on Friday, and he actually showed up while I was running that massive pileup on the radio. And he was watching and kind of laughing. He's like, wow, that was really cool. And I said, oh, are you a ham? He says, no, not yet, but I want to be. He'd been interested in storm spotting and having access to some communication if he's out cruising around somewhere in areas where there isn't cell service and what have you. So so we convinced him that, well, first thing first, you need to get yourself a license manual, and then start studying, and then we'll find a club for you or a test session, what have you. And I suggested, I'm like, hey, why don't you come back tomorrow during our grand opening? There's going to be a lot of local people. We'll get you hooked up, meet some people, and go from there. Well, sure enough, Rich not only came, but he stayed all day long. We got him introduced to several local club members. They've invited him to upcoming club meetings. They're already talking about test sessions when he's ready. He came back with his book. He went home and studied Friday night and came back with a bunch of questions and things outlined. So I would say we've got a hot one on the wire. So you guys up there in the club, make sure you don't let that one go. He's going to be a great participant. So the store was kind of, ebbs and flows like any other time, but towards the end of the day, the crowd started to fill up. And another really fun, well, it wasn't a surprise. I knew he was coming, but Steve, W7UDI, who many of you know, he's here in the chat room and watches the show, and he's also the 20-meter net control for Ham Nation. He came all the way down from Washington so he could hang out and hopefully win a prize, which he did not. Also came with his lovely bride, K7UDI. Hopefully I haven't busted C's call, but it was great fun to see them both and spend a little time together. There's never enough time, of course, because I was working, so I couldn't really totally hang out, but managed to snap a couple photos and have a good time. In the bottom photo, you can see to the left, also there's Eric from the staff, and Alexia was getting ready to give away another prize. So everybody came running when we were doing prizes. It was a lot of fun. So basically, I just want to kind of say thanks to all of the Portland team, especially Leon, the store manager. He was actually away. He had a vacation already planned, so kind of commandeered his office while he was gone. So we sent this picture and go, haha, look where we are. But Pat, W1DUK, and Alexia, and 7TOY, Brian, 87LE, and Brian, K7WCE, and Ted, KE7WRX. And I'm sorry, Eric and Tony, I don't remember your call signs, and I didn't write them down, but everybody there was super to work with, and the customers all seemed happy. It was a great place to spend the weekend, and it helped me certainly feel a little bit more of the HRO family, which was cool. Now, the next thing that's coming up is Milwaukee. On October 8th, I'll be going to our grand opening over there. And if you're not already following us on Facebook, I'd like to suggest that perhaps you pop over and find Ham Radio Outlet Milwaukee. And then when you like us, if you notice that not so subtle arrow, you click see first and the notifications for on. So every time I go live while I'm there and doing some Facebook videos, you'll be able to see all the events and activities, especially because that store is brand new and it's huge and there's so much to see there. I expect to be doing a lot of videos. I know that Diane from ICOM will be there, Jason from Samlex, Robert, our owner, will be there, as well as Steve, our national sales manager, myself. So I plan on doing some interviews, and it should hopefully be a fun and interesting time, and I hope you guys will be able to follow in and join in. With that being said, there are more videos if you find my page on Ham Radio Outlet, as well as my own personal Facebook, WY7YL. There's lots of videos from the weekend. You can check them out. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to you guys about that. And let me turn off my sharing. And so hopefully, I don't know if anybody has any questions, maybe in the chat room or that you can see, but it was a lot of fun. It's a beautiful store. And from what I was told from everybody who knew the old store, it's, it's like night and day. And operating from there was a lot of fun. I actually got on an ICOM 7300, and again, it went out to that 100-foot tower. We were just running 100 watts. We were kind of joking that I was so used to running an amp. I got the PW1 behind me here somewhere. I'm used to running power, but it worked just fine, and it was great to get on the air while I was there, and we hope to do some more of that.
Wow, that was a great recap of the weekend and opening of the new store there. Now, had Portland had a ham store before?
Yes, it actually was there for, I want to say, at least 20 years, maybe longer. So, of course, HRO has been around since 1971, but that store had been there for quite a long time. And it was also a corner location, but it was very small. It was very noisy. So even when people did want to get on the air and try to test out some radios, they just didn't have much luck. They couldn't get out. So it was, everything was cramped. They couldn't carry nearly as much inventory. So it's really like night and day from the old spot.
All right. Well, looking for a report from the next opening you go to.
Yeah, I hope so. That should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So you say the rain didn't cause you a lot of problems with visitors? You had a lot of visitors that day?
Yeah, there was still a lot of people that came through, and I would say to someone, "Oh, I'm from Wyoming, and what? I'm glad the weather didn't stop you from coming out today." And they're like, "Oh, this is nothing. We're used to this." And so apparently, really, and it never really downpoured. Alexia said a lot of times, it would be kind of sprinkly in the morning, and then when they say it's going to rain, it's like a deluge, but we never saw that. So I think that probably helped quite a bit. There's normally a farmer's market in that parking lot also, but I'm not sure what happened with that, if it got rained out or not. But there was certainly plenty of traffic. Some people came in the morning and then left for a while and then came back again. So it was really a mix of people in and out, but there was always somebody coming in and out of the doors, and quite a few people came and hung out for quite a long time. And it was really nice too. Some people came just because they saw the videos on Friday and said, "Oh, Katie's there. I think I'll go by and say hello and see what's going on at the grand opening." And so it was a lot of fun that way. And I got to meet some Facebook friends that I had never met in person before. So that's always kind of a fun thing too.
Does ATRO sell that tower, or did they just buy one to put up?
No, that's actually U.S. Tower sells direct, or we're the sole distributor for the U.S. Tower.
Okay. And
it's actually a loaner for the month at Portland, and then we're going to have another one in Milwaukee next month for the grand openings there.
So there was a question. Do you know the approximate cost if a ham wanted to buy that tower?
I looked on the website, and I want to say it's around like 60,000. I mean, it's obviously it's a significant investment.
Oh man. Woo. Okay. Well, I won't be using one of those for a while anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely spendy. But I think what happens with something like that, usually some bigger clubs that have a good size financial budget are able to invest in that and use it for events and activities. Certainly things that you can put that to use. But it was really, I have to say, I was really impressed. I mean, the thing is a beast. But watching it go up, it was smooth. It didn't really take that long. I videotaped it going up once, and I want to say maybe not even 10 minutes for the whole thing to go up. But watching each piece go up, and again, you almost expect something so large to be loud and making a cranky noise as it goes, but just no sound at all. It was just almost seamless, and it seemed like just a couple of quick buttons for them to push, and it was pretty much hands off. It seems, very safe and easy to use, and really interesting piece of equipment, that's for sure.
So I guess they're not in any homeowner association where they can put a tower up, right?
Yeah, no kidding. That's for sure.
All right. Well, Katie, thanks very much for bringing us that report on the new HRO location there in Portland.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the opportunity.
Stick around with us because I'm going to need you to help me with our next guest.
All right.
This
Sounds
guy
good.
knows probably more than I've forgotten. So I'm going to need some help with this next guy to try to challenge his technical expertise. So let me see if I can figure out how to bring him in. We've got with us tonight Marty. Marty is here. Marty Soloway. Let's see, that's KC1 chicken with fries. That's the only way I can remember it. Hi, Marty.
Hi, Steve. How you doing? Excuse me.
That's all right.
Tom. We're talking about Steve W7UDI a second ago.
Yeah,
Hi, Tom.
that's okay.
Great to be here. Katie, great talk. So.
Well, great. So glad to have you on here again. And something just dinged. I've got so many computers hooked up here, I don't know what dinged, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. So, Marty, tonight you volunteered to talk a little about remote operations, and I know that you've tried different things and you've built some stuff, and let's talk about it tonight. And Katie, feel free to jump in here anytime you might have a question. So, Marty, let's just get started, man. How do you want to start on remote?
So, Katie's here to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because she keeps the two of us in line. So before I start, I just want to point out to everybody that this is a little bit complex, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. And at the end of this, I'm going to try and answer all your questions. So I am Marty, MARTY _ KC1CWF in chat. And if you have any questions, put them there. And then once I finish, we'll answer all those. But I just don't want to be going in and out. So tonight I thought I'd talk about a little bit about something that I'm very interested in the hobby and something I spend a lot of time doing, which, as Tom said, got your name right this time, is remote operating. So primarily in this case, we're talking about remote operating over the internet typically and on HF. So typically 10 meters through 160, although I've done it on VHF and UHF. Most of this is utilizing the HF bands and the internet. So why would you want to operate a remote station? Well, maybe you live in an HOA and you can't put up antennas, but you still want to get on the air. Or you want to use a big station somewhere else in the world. Well, luckily, with remote operation, all of that is possible. So just to give you an example, let's see if I can switch screens here really quickly. Tom, let me. Did that show up?
Yeah, it did.
Look at that. So imagine.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to clean the picture up. There we go. I've almost got you. There we go. Go right ahead.
Perfect. Well, imagine that you could use a station that looked like that. That is the Comstock Memorial Station, W7RN, in Nevada. And let me tell you, they have some giant antennas. 3-element beam on 80 meters. You ever used one of those, Tom?
No.
Stacked Yagis on 40 meters. Some giant stuff. You see those two radios in the center of that picture. Those are actually two Elecraft K3s, some very nice radios. And if you look to the left there, you see all those green bars. Those are all actually controls to select all the many, many antennas there. So just to think, with a remote ham radio, you can operate cool stations all over the world. This is just an example of stations that can be used remote. So that's just an example, but anybody can remote their station. If you in this picture, for example, there is the two Elecraft K3 radios. Those are the radios we see right in front. And one Elecraft actually sells a product called the Elecraft K30, which looks like this. It's actually called the K30 Mini. And you can buy these online for about $700. And you can basically buy a pair of black boxes, basically, that look something like this. These are sold by a company called Remote Rig, a Swedish ham, I believe. And you can pair one of the Elecraft K3 radios and one of those, and a pair of those boxes over the internet with one of those mini radios, and you can magically control your radios over the internet. So yes, there's a little bit of setup, and that's just one example. There's many ways to do that, and we'll get into that in a moment. I just wanted to give a quick example of how easy it can be to set those up. Maybe that will only take you 20, 30 minutes, and magically, if you have one of those Elecraft K3 radios, you can be controlling your station all over the world from your internet. I've used those. I used those recently a couple weeks ago at a ham fest. Sorry, I don't have any pictures, but that's a very cool way to do it. Well, say maybe that you own an HF radio at home. You travel from time to time, maybe on business, maybe you're on vacation in Hawaii, and you want to use your radio at home. Well, you probably don't own an Elecraft K3. Yes, they're good, but they're expensive. And you just want to get on the air. You want to use your dipoles, maybe call CQ, use a little bit of CW. Well, you can do that. Luckily, over the last few years, technology has advanced to the point where you could set up a simple remote station at home for free. Yes, for free you could do that. Pretty much for free these days, you can set up a station remotely just using some free, simple software. So let's get into it. Firstly, you're probably going to want to be able to send some CW, or maybe
I've got a key
phone.
just like that.
Yeah, it's a nice key.
Yeah.
It's actually Joe Eisenberg's key.
Really?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I bought mine in 1964. That looks like a 1964 model.
Is this? This is a... Doesn't even
Vibroplex.
say on it. You're probably right.
That's the Vibroplex. Hold it down a little. Bring it the other way. There you go. Vibroplex.
Yeah.
That's the Chrome Vibroplex Deluxe model. That's exactly the one that I got when I got my license in 1964.
Very nice. And then this is my daily driver. This is just a simple bench or BY1. So definitely you probably want to send some CW. So we'll take care of that. And probably phone too. We're not going to get into RIDI or anything like that tonight, I don't think. But there's an easy way to do that. So if you have a laptop you can use and maybe a shack computer at home, everything is free. So there's a few things we have to accomplish. You have radio control, you have antenna control, and you're going to have your transmit receive audio. That we're just talking about phone for right now. We'll get to CW in a minute. Well, just like how I am talking to you right now, Tom, you can use Skype. Most radios built in the last 10 or 15 years have something called Vox, voice-operated transmit, where if you talk without pressing a push to talk, you can key the radio. So all you need to do is take the audio coming out of your computer, your speaker audio out of your computer, like you would for Skype, and pipe that right into the input of your radio, hopefully at a mic level. And then, if you have a microphone or a laptop at the other end, as soon as you talk, that audio is going to go over the internet and key that radio. Then we could do the reverse with receive audio. Just take pipe the receive audio right out of your computer, out of your radio into your computer using probably a built-in sound card. And there you go. You can transmit and receive. You did that much. So now, let's talk a little bit about radio control. Well, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'm not sure how everybody feels about configuring COM ports. Sometimes those can be a little bit confusing. Well, that's what we're going to need to do. So we want to get a COM port working so we can talk to our radios from our computers. Maybe we can see, let's see, Tom, did the camera switch back?
Well, I see a bunch of images now.
Yeah, you should see a bunch of windows.
Yeah.
So this is a snapshot of my remote station. Here I'm on 40 meter CW, and you can see that we're using the N1MM software, which is the software I use for my remote. It's free on the internet. It's a contest logging software. But that's how I control my radio. And you see that box in the center of the screen where it says CQ-frequency? That's where you log your contacts, but you can type in a mode or type in a frequency and control your radio like that. So now we've accomplished changing frequencies. You can type a frequency into that box, or type CW, type phone. And so now we know how to use phone. We know how to change frequencies. But what about antenna switching? That's where it gets a little bit complex. So, you have a...
And Marty, this is where I would simplify things. I would put me up an all band like a delta loop that would work 40 through 6, and just I wouldn't have to switch the antenna.
Right. Well, maybe not even that. Maybe you have a 4 square where you need to switch directions.
Yeah.
and at your station you just turn a knob like this. Maybe you have one of these fancy Meritron coax switches that sits out at your antennas. Anything that is automatic will do or electronic will do the job. Now, if you have a manual coax switch to switch between all your antennas, that will not do the job. What you want to do is get yourself some sort of electronic coax switch, be it the Meritron, or just use one antenna like Tom. And once we do that, we want to make sure we have some electric control in the shack. As I said, use a remote coax switch that's electronic, or an electronic 4-square controller like I showed earlier. Then we can use something like a relay controller to switch our antennas. So what I'm showing you right now on the screen, and that you're going to have to look at video if you're listening on audio. I'm sorry, the show and tell won't be great. This is 16 relays, so 8 on the bottom and 8 on the top. And these are actually pretty cool. This is just a simple relay board that you can control right here. You have 16 pins in ground, and it's low side switch, which means you can switch ground to any of the pins, and your relays will turn on and off. Okay, so now we might be able to connect this in parallel with the output of your antenna switch box. And this is a bad example, guys. I'm sorry. This is what I just had handy. But this is the ground pin, as we see, for this 4-square controller. Let's see. And we have 2 hot pins, 1 and 2. And those turn on, so they switch 12 volts in different sequences to switch the antennas. So what if instead of using that big old rotary knob that you see right on the front of that 4-square controller? Well, you could use a relay in parallel to that rotary knob to do the same thing. So maybe we put a relay for each of the 4 directions of the 4-square, tie them in parallel with that knob. Now, you're going to have to break out your soldering iron for this. Tie them into the contacts as you would. This is a little bit hard to explain, so you're not going to be able to get everything you need to know here, but just a summary. And then pair it with the magical component. Now, the beauty to all this antenna switching is this little board right here. And what this is it has an Ethernet port on it, on one side. And then it has that same header right here that this relay board here. I'll post the links to this later in chat so you guys can get this. And if you attach, it's a little bit tricky to do on video, one of these server boards, this is all made by SaneSmart, is the company. You can suddenly control all these relays over the network, just magically. So then, all we need to do is write some simple code, and I wrote it in Python, and I'd be happy to share it with anybody who's interested. Let's see if the video switches. And you can write an application, as you can see on the screen, that looks like this. Here you can see I have a 15-meter dipole, my 20-meter vertical, and my 40-meter dipole, and my 80-meter dipole, and my end-fed. All these antennas, now I can just turn on and off those relays that we connected in parallel with that rotary knob and my remote coax switch, as I showed a minute ago. Just clicking those buttons can switch my antennas. So there's a little bit of code in the middle, which is a little bit complex. We won't get into all that right now. But say now you want to rotate an antenna. This is a product made by Green Heron Engineering, as you can see on the screen. That's the rotator controller. Tom, can you switch to Katie's shot real quick?
To Katie's shot? Let's see. Katie, let's see. I can. There's Katie. Let's see. There's Katie.
You see behind Katie? She is one of these boxes. You want to point that out, Katie?
Okay. Which way am I leaning? I'm always back. Yeah, behind the red box there. Yeah, there it is. We have a green heron. The green heron is terrific.
Aren't they fabulous boxes?
They are.
So these boxes can communicate over USB. You can switch back to my screen now. You can switch back to my face, Tom.
Oh.
My ugly, ugly, ugly face.
Oh, stop, chicken with fries. We love you.
We're back. Do you
Are
not,
we back? Okay, I
do you
can't
not,
see
do you
it.
not see
Sorry.
yourself?
Okay, we'll keep going. And Green Heron makes. Oh, you know what? I messed up. Switch back to my screen, Tom. I'm sorry.
Switch back to. Well, I am on your
There
screen.
you go. You got that. There we go. On my screen. Okay, it'll show up in a second. And you see, on the screen, there's some dials with
Oh, wait a minute. You want this one up? Is that what you wanted up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave it. Perfect.
Okay.
So on my screen, you can see my little mouse there. We have these what looks like compasses. And these are actually reading the readout of this box that you can see my mouse kind of going around right here. The box that Katie has in her ham shack actually communicates with software. And I can drag this around. Oops. I can drag that around and select my antenna heading. This is just a product made by Green Heron Engineering. And that's just one way. There's many ways to accomplish this. But that's just one way you can switch your antennas. Switch your rotating headings, excuse me. And they also make software that you can see here that'll pretty much do the same thing as I showed earlier. If you want to buy it commercially, to go ahead and switch your antennas and rotate your antennas in one software suite. Well, what if you say, "Hey, Marty, look, that was really complex. Everything you said there, I did not understand. I live in an HOA. You're crazy. Everything you said is hogwash. It's definitely wrong. I just want to get on 20 meters with a big station and work DX." Well, hey, I got the solution for you. There's a you're going to have to pay for this a little bit. It's not going to be cheap. But there's a company called RemoteHamRadio.com, which was started by Ray, W2RE, and Lee, WW2DX. And you could pay $99 a year, and then you're going to also pay a couple pennies a minute. But you can use their remote stations all over the world. And they have iPhone apps and iPad apps, and I think maybe Android too. And this is on the screen. You can see a copy. Yeah, is it switched? Perfect. Sweet. You can see a copy of their interface on the screen. You pay, and you log on to their website, and you get this beautiful interface. There's no Team Viewer. There's no Skype on this one. It's really elegant. And here you can see on the screen, just control of your radio. You have the rotator controller over here. This is a 4 square on 80 meters. You can use and their amplifier down here. You have the transmit section controls. So this is an example of just a really clean way to do remote ham radio. There's also another piece of software, or there's another group called Remote Hams where they basically do this for free. You can Google it. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty here tonight. Although I did realize, I apologize, everybody, I made a mistake. If we go back to what I was talking about earlier with I showed you my desktop. The way we control that remotely is actually using a piece of software called TeamViewer. And that's where you can log into your desktop remotely and get to all that. I apologize.
And TeamViewer is free.
Yes. Very much so. Sorry about that, Tom. But,
that's all right. You know, man, this has been great so far, Marty, and you brought up a lot of possibilities there. I'm very interested. Hold that relay board up again and that little Ethernet connection. And, you know, I'm a home brewer, and not so much for remote operation right now, but look at that. You got 16 relay outputs. You can plug an Ethernet. You can plug it into your home.
16 relays, and these are 10 amp relays. You can switch 100 watts with.
You can plug that into your home internet, and from outside you can control 16 relays. Just think, you can open and close your garage door. You can turn your lights on and off. Man, you can do a lot of things with that very simply.
Yeah, so this stuff is really powerful. I did a talk about this stuff in Dayton, and unfortunately, I do not have the slides up there for that. But all the software here, all the software I wrote, and most of this software is either free or cheap. Everything I did is free. Just send me an email, kc1cwf@kc1cwf.us. If you have any questions that I didn't get to here tonight, I don't see anything in chat. I'm not sure if anybody can.
Well, Marty, it's
it's
been great. All the things you've shown us tonight. I'm really interested in possibly getting back into some playing with the remote operation. There's a lot of programs out there today that will interface with a lot of the radios just through, what is it, the CAD cable or whatever they call it.
Yeah, so that's all you need
Yeah.
once you have radio control.
And,
I've gone.
it brings up a little picture. Looks just like your radio, and you can turn the dials and you can flip the switches and everything. And it's just a little trouble setting it up, but somebody like you probably
Give me an email.
could help. You know.
Anybody who needs help with this stuff, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help.
All right. Well, Marty, we're gonna move on. We're running a little bit late tonight, so we're gonna move on to our next segment here. We want to talk about Jamboree on the air and see what's going on over there. So maybe we'll have another show with you on here real soon, and we'll talk more detail about remote operations.
Yeah, really good. Well, thanks
Okay.
so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Katie, you got any last comments here for Marty? Katie, are you there?
Katie.
Katie, hello.
Sorry,
Katie?
I was on mute to make sure I didn't make any noise when
No, that's
typing.
all
but-
right.
I
No,
put
I
you to
think-
sleep, didn't I?
No, never. Thank you, Marty. That was terrific, and I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface with it. So hopefully we'll be able to bring you back and do some more segments on it. That was terrific, and thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And it was awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
really
fun to be
was.
here.
Well, thanks very much, Marty, and we'll be talking to you a little later about that other possibility that we were talking about.
Oh yes, well it's fun to be here.
All right. We'll see you guys. Save me threes. I'm gonna drop you guys down. We're gonna go ahead and get our
All right,
next guest
bye.
Bye.
on. Bye. All right. Well, that was interesting. Wish we had a lot more time to talk with Marty about the remote. That guy has a lot of what do you call it? Knowledge and skills and background in that area. All right. Let's see if I can find our next guest. I think I can find him. Let's see. Stand by, everybody. All right, Bill, hang on a second. Let me add our other guest. Let me add Jim. Oh, let's find Jim. There he is right there.
He's in there.
Yeah. I think Katie's correcting the price of the tower. Yeah, there we go. So hey, let's see what let me see if I can bring you guys up here on the show. We've got William Stearns.
Howdy, everyone.
NE4RD. Now, did you pick that call for any special reason?
I can't imagine why I would pick it.
You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, when I look at it, I see nerd, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the point. It's a really lightweight CW call as well, so that's kind of
Yeah.
picked it out for contesting.
So a nerd, okay, so that means you're in some type of probably technical area, right? You're a techie nerd. So what do you do
Yeah.
for a living there?
I'm a full-time programmer, so I do a lot of back-end DBA work and front-end web development.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, you've helped us out a couple of times on some of our HTML here. We really appreciate that.
No problem.
I saw, hey, and I tried putting the code in the other day to pop our video out full screen, and I just cannot make it work. I don't know why. You know, we're in an iframe. Maybe it's because we're inside an iframe. I don't know, but hey, I'll talk to you about that later. Maybe we can figure it out.
Oh yeah, we can fix that.
All right, and let's see if I can get Jim in here. Get the right mouse here. And there he is. Hey Jim, how you doing tonight?
We're doing well, Tom. Thanks very much for inviting me to be on your show this evening. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, glad to have you and Bill on here, and it's going to be another interesting segment, I think, talking about Jamboree on the air. And, you know, I've been a ham for 52 years, and, you know, I just don't know much about Jamboree on the air. So I did a little research today, and I read a little about it. It's a pretty big deal. Over a million, I think over a million scouts are part of that, and I read somewhere upwards to 200,000 Girl Scouts are also a part of it. So, hey, I'm gonna turn it over to you and Bill, and you guys get started, and I'll probably interrupt with some questions, but I'm gonna let you try to just go ahead and start trying to lay out what JOTA is. So, do you want to take it? Go ahead.
Okay, great. That's what we'll do. I've got a little slideshow here, and what I thought we'd do is I'd cover the high points of Jamboree on the Air, and particularly radio scouting, the whole topic of amateur radio and scouting, and then Bill is going to add some of his own experiences working with Jamboree on the Air and some of the technical aspects as well, because we're using a lot of technology in the program. So let me figure out here to get the slide deck up and going. So I'm sharing the screen and.
Okay.
I think that's working.
There. Yeah, I think it is. Let's see if
okay. Well, the whole topic of radio scouting is amateur radio within scouting, within Boy Scouting, within Girl Scouting. And so the topic here is, what is radio scouting? Some of you probably have experienced Jamboree on the Air, but there's many of you like Tom that in all his years in amateur radio really hasn't come across it. So try to cover what's happening today. But radio scouting, there's some levels within radio scouting. It's called Jamboree on the Air. There's the Radio Merit Badge. There's also something new called the Amateur Radio Operator Rating Strip that I'll touch on. Also, Morse Code Interpreter Strip. Morse code has not been forgotten within scouting. It's alive and it's well. And there's a patch, and I'll touch on that later. And there's also the National Scout Jamboree. And there's probably a little bit more in there as we go through it. But there's a radio scouting path. There's an introduction to amateur radio that happens around Jamboree on the Air. Then there's rank advancement, which is very important within scouting. For the Radio Merit Badge. Special recognition happens with those two strips that I mentioned. And then there's actually some special awards, an ARRL, a Service to Scouting Award. So Jamboree on the Air. It's a worldwide annual event that happens the third weekend in October. This year, it's October 14th through 16th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It started in 1957, and it has become the largest scouting event in the world, with over 1 million scouts participating, 22,000 radio amateurs across 17,000 stations, and involving, last year it was 151 countries. So what are the benefits of Jamboree on the Air? The first point is that scouting puts on Jamboree on the Air chiefly as a way of connecting scouts across the country, around the world, getting them to engage so that they see some cultures, they see some regional differences, and then along the way, they get exposed to the technology, fun, and the magic of amateur radio. Plus, it's a natural starting point for the Radio Merit Badge. But here you see the scouts are having fun in conversations across the country, around the world. And these photos here, I think the photo on the left is here in the U.S. I think that's a California station, and the one on the right is from Malaysia, on a station that they had underway during Jamboree on the Air. And actually, I think they were involved with Jamboree on the Internet. So here's the results that have happened in the USA since 2010. 2010, there were 31 stations that actually we figured out we're on the air. I think there were far more than that. We just didn't have a very good reporting system at the time. 2011, we ramped that reporting and communication system up, went still further in 2012, and it's kind of leveled off. 2013 hit an all-time high for us. It's kind of leveled off the 2014, 2015. But about 12,000, 13,000 scouts on the air. Now, those are also mentioned. 208 stations filed a report afterwards. There were about 400 that registered prior to Jamboree on the air. So I know there were stations on the air that just didn't take the time to report. One thing you might be thinking about is how would you organize a Jamboree on the air event? First thing I'll mention that it's probably too close coming up in less than a month for you to really organize an event. That typically starts in February and March, working with scouting to line up an event around that weekend. But it's working with a local scout council, a district, or a unit. Those are the organization structure within scouting. And on that topic, there's a link there called JOTA Talking Points. And the National Radio Scouting Committee prepared these talking points to help ham radio operators talk to scouting people. Even though it's English that they're typically speaking, they really are talking different languages and they have different priorities. And this is a way to help you understand those priorities and line up with them. But it's chiefly about lining up an existing scouting event on JOTA weekend. It's really, really tough to get the scouts to go out to your local club station for that weekend. Everybody is busy on a weekend. It's better for you to go where the scouts are. That's just an overview. There are a ton of resources out there available. The go-to website, scouting.org/JOTA. A lot of resources there, including frequency plans and all that sort of stuff. And then the supporting website is k2bsa.net. A ton of information available there. So it's also what you can do is you can get on the air during Jamboree on the air. You can demonstrate hospitality. You can hand out QSOs and engage in some conversations. It's really inviting scouts to our hobby. Though a lot of stations will be on the air, propagation is going to be terrible, and they're going to be begging for contacts. And they just need somebody on the other end of the line to engage a scout and say and help them get over mic fright and all those other things that go on, and ask them about how old are they, what's their rank, what do they like the most, and once they get started, they take off with it. So that's a way that you can help out, is get on the air during Jamboree on the air, and you can find those frequencies on that scouting.org/JOTA. So back to the radio scouting path. Talked about the introduction, Jamboree on the air. A lot of kids will go through that. As I mentioned, 1 million scouts. Some of them are going to go, oh yeah, that's cool, but I've got an iPhone. I think that's pretty cool too. But there's a few of them that their hair is going to catch on fire and they're really going to love it. And all of them are going to learn about amateur radio, and some of them are going to be on your homeowners association when you're asking to put up an antenna. And they're going to say, I remember ham radio. But so what is Radio Merit Badge? It was introduced as the wireless merit badge in 1918. The ARRL worked with the Boy Scouts of America to set that all up. It's an introduction to radio. There's some options that you can take within the Radio Merit Badge. The broadcast options, shortwave listening, and ham radio operations. And we're going through a revision process on it now, and we'll soon add an amateur radio direction finding option. So fox hunting option, which is a perfect combination of ham radio and scouting. It's outdoors. It can typically be completed in a day-long workshop, and at the Jamboree, we used a 4-hour time frame to complete all the requirements. It was 90 minutes in class, 30 minutes in front of a radio, another 90 minutes in class, and literally within 3.5 hours, they had their Radio Merit Badge. Plus, we started those classes every hour on the hour. So as a scout showed up, they didn't have long to wait. But this is the amazing thing to me, the strong interest and the growth in that radio merit badge. And you can see this bar graph dating back to 1949 is actually the start of that first chart. And when I asked the BSA statistics people to give me this information, they lost a few years of stats there around 1975. But I expected to just see it trailing off. But instead, it's grown huge from running in the 1,000 per year earned. That's actually what this number is. Number of radio merit badges earned each year. Around 1,000 per year in the 80s. In the 90s, what happened, as most of you know, Morse code requirement for a license went away. Well, there was a Morse code requirement for radio merit badge, and that went away. So it started to become a little bit easy. And I'll tell you, there are only two types of merit badges in the mind of a typical scout. And those are the merit badges that are required for Eagle and the easy merit badges. And that's what this one falls into. So we're lucky. It's about 7,000 a year that earn the radio merit badge right now. And you can see a few peaks there. And that's typically what happens at a Jamboree. We boost those numbers because a lot of scouts are earning it at the Jamboree. So back to that radio scouting path. We've talked about Jamboree on the air. We've talked about radio merit badge. We've got some special recognition as well. The rating strip and the Morse code interpreter strip. So this is what it looks like, the amateur radio operator rating strip. It actually, the advancement committee at the Boy Scouts reached out to us and said, we're kind of interested in reinstating something that happened in the 40s. There was called a Senior Scout Radio Man strip, and there were a number of other strips available. It required earning a number of merit badges, etc. And so we worked with them and came up with this. If you've got a license, a ham radio license, sew this uniform on your patch. So it's a perfect follow-on to the radio merit badge. You're about halfway there when you've earned that radio merit badge. Go another half the distance and you've got your license and you can sew another badge on your uniform. And that's one of the magic things within scouting. It takes a patch to make things happen. So here's another one of those patches, the Morse code interpreter strip. The requirements here are 5 words per minute, sending and receiving. And there's a few other things that you have to do in there, but it's primarily about 5 words per minute. Initially, this sold, I introduced about 3 years ago, sold about 1,200 a year in the first 2 years. Now about 345 are being sold. That was the past 12 months. You can see this patch spells out the word Morse in Morse code. And the reason for that, the other interpreter strips, Espanol, Arabic, and all of them, they spell out the language in their own language. So it really is Espanol. It doesn't spell out Spanish. So Morse is a perfect one. So it's a wonderful little another recognition of something that happens with amateur radio and something that's really of interest to scouts. They love Morse code. And I mentioned as well special recognition, the Amateur Radio Service to Scouting Award. And the ARRL worked with the Boy Scouts of America to establish this award. I think there's about 10 requirements. It's a nomination process through the section manager at the ARRL, and then the award is granted. And there's another patch that goes on with it. It's called a square knot, and that's for leaders. It goes above, forgotten which pocket on their uniform, but another badge to make things happen within scouting. And then quickly, I'll touch on the National Scout Jamboree. This is it was the last one was in July 2013. It happens at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in West Virginia, a special purpose built facility for the Jamboree. This was the first year at that new scouting facility that is a high adventure masterpiece with zip lines and skate parks and rock climbing and whitewater rafting, shooting sports, unbelievable facilities that they put up there, including amateur radio. So at our demonstration station, we had Doesn't show it here, but we had just over 40 staff members there running the station. 2,600 scouts went through the station in the 7 days of operation. Radio Merit Badge, over 300 scouts earned it. We had a fox hunting course set up, a simple one. 100 teams went through that. We had an International Space Station contact. 10 scouts participated in that contact. And then the thing that I loved about that event was there's also a hometown news operation at Jamboree. Scouts sign up their local news outlet, and while they're at the Jamboree, they file reports back to the local newspaper, the radio station, the television station. Well, after the ISS contact, the 10 scouts that talked with the astronaut went to hometown news, conducted a press conference with the scout reporters on their experience talking to outer space. How cool is that? Wonderful, wonderful times. But we also we launched 4 high-altitude balloons with only one had an amateur radio payload because it's very difficult to recover things in the mountains of West Virginia, we learned. And I'll mention we have 3 repeaters installed at the facility. ICOM America installed all those repeaters, and they're there year-round. And mentioning that, our 2017 Jamboree sponsors, the 2017 Jamboree will be in July of next year. ICOM America continues their incredible sponsorship, providing all our transceivers, the repeaters, and they also do support throughout the year. They have 10 stations that they loan to local scout councils. Those 10 stations have IC 7300s in them now. They've refitted all of them with their latest transceiver. DX Engineering has just signed their contract as a sponsor. They're providing verticals and beam antennas, coaxial cables, bandpass filters, multiplexers, a big sponsor for our operation. MFJ is stepped up as well. They're going to be providing headphones, rotator, and dipoles. Incredible support from our sponsors, making amateur radio happen within scouting and these guys at the Jamboree. So what does it mean for you guys? It's about mentoring the next generation of hams. This is where they come from, many of them. In fact, I recall the story of this was an interesting one. I talked to a ham here recently who said, I got my start in amateur radio through scouting. And he said, in fact, I earned the Radio Merit Badge and I left scouting and went and did ham radio all the time with my, that doesn't happen very often, but it's a sure point of view of introducing scouts to amateur radio. So lots more information on the websites, the K2BSA website, that is the Amateur Radio Association associated with the National Office of the Boy Scouts. We have a Facebook page, Twitter, and scouting.org. The main scouting page has some Jamboree on the Air pages. And then I'll mention the World Joda Jody team offers a page as well, chock full of information. This event is actually owned and operated by the World Organization of the Scout Movement, and each national association participates. So I guess it's time for Q&A.
Well, all right. Well, let's see if we can bring your picture back in there. You know how to do that? Let's see. We're getting there.
There we are.
So I tell you what, we're running just a little late. Let's take just about a 2-minute break here. I've got a couple announcements, but then we'll come back with the Q&As, and then we'll get Bill in there. But, you know, hey, this is really interesting to me. It shows that this is really helping to energize and bring a lot of new people into ham radio. The numbers are just tremendous that you're showing here. Also, I think we need to say that the Jamboree on the Air is not a contest. It's more for, just promoting friendship, right?
Very much so. It's meant to foster conversations, really, rather than a number of contacts, so that scouts can talk to one another and they can learn about things. And I'll mention the Workdoll Germany contest is a wonderful example. That contest happens the same weekend as Jamboree on the Air, but they've established contest-free frequencies. And so the participants in that contest have to stay clear of the JOTA frequencies so scouts can be on the air.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I know that I see him talking about Ray Novak in the chat room. I know that ICOM is very involved in loaning radios to all these locations, and that's kind of cool. They've upgraded to the 7300s there. Let me take about a 2-minute break. You guys just stand by there if you will. Let me make just a couple of quick announcements. Our show may have a lot of shortwave listeners out there, which maybe aren't watching the presentation on the internet. If you're listening on shortwave, you can join us at w5kub.com, and you can watch the videos, and you can join us in the chat room. Again, we're on international shortwave station WBCQ on 9330, and would like to hear from you. If you're a ham or a shortwave listener out there and you're listening to us on 9330 kilohertz, send an email to tom@w5kub.com. Would love to hear from you. Tell us where you are and what kind of signal report we might have wherever you are. We've had good reports from England and Costa Rica and a few places like that. Join our Facebook group. There's a link at the top for you to join our Facebook group. It'll give you a lot of information about our show, and it's just a good ham radio spot to post things. All right, and we'll be back in just a second here. Take action and prepare now. Did you know September is National Preparedness Month? Set some time aside and review your emergency communications plan for air, land, or sea. Make sure your ICOM equipment is ready to go for any situation. The ID 5100A has taken innovation and mobility to the next level. With its touchscreen and internal GPS, this radio is a must-to-have while accessing any situation. The large 5.5 display responds naturally to the touch. DV-DV Dual Watch receives both FM-FM and FM-DV mode signals simultaneously. VS3 Bluetooth headset provides hands-free communications. And show your position, course, and speed with the integrated GPS receiver. Connect your Android to ICOM's most popular dual-band digital transceiver, the ID51A Plus. Filled with enhanced functions and digital features, you don't want to be without this mobile communication solution. Send and receive text messages and photos. Transfer data 3.5 times faster with DV Fast Data Mode. And communicate with the touch of your fingertips. Perfect for small spaces, the IC7100 base station is the ideal D-Star option for wherever you may be. Angled control head and touchscreen for quick, intuitive operation. It has a large internal speaker for clear digital audio, and is perfect for multi-band and all-mode communications. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios. All right, well, we're back, and let's see, Jim, how do we want to do this? I know there's a lot of questions, and there's been a lot of things going on in the chat room, and people have been answering it. We'll see if there's more questions here. Do we need to bring Bill in now, or do we want to take questions right now? How do you guys want to work this?
Yeah, I can talk for just a little bit.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I think Bill could come in now. I saw a few questions, but not many, really more statements in the chat room. But yeah, let Bill take this.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Bill, and let's let you have a stab at telling us more about this.
I just wanted to touch on a couple topics that Jim had mentioned. Like we know, lately propagation has been pretty pitiful, and getting on the air might be a challenge for groups. So we're really emphasizing that now is the time to try out these new technologies, internet connected radio like Echolink, All Star, DMR, D Star. Get on the repeaters, get on FM simplex with handy talkies. Any way we can get these scouts talking to each other, talking to other groups. We need to take advantage of technology in the times of poor propagation. Another thing, it's not really too late to get involved with your local district and councils. A lot of them have their calendars published on the internet. You can go ahead and check on there first if you just want to see if they already have something scheduled. Maybe it's something that you can do a park petition. Bring all your equipment out, do a little rapid deployment amateur radio, and show that you can can put up all the infrastructure you need to talk to just about anyone, at least in the U.S. And hopefully the propagation gods will help out with that. I know a lot of clubs are lucky enough to have clubhouses, and it might be a good opportunity to have an open house and invite the local councils and local troops over. For a scout sanctioned event, you will need a couple of registered adults that are registered with the BSA, but that's probably not too hard to find. Even us in this area here in Montana, we have tons of registered amateur radio scout dads and scout moms that are registered, and also ham radio operators. Digital operations. PSK 31. I was really surprised. We set up a PSK 31 station 2 years ago, and we must have spent at least 1 hour on there with just a station over in Alberta, Canada, talking to about 35 scouts up in Canada, rolling through the station, typing a few things at a time. So it's a good opportunity to get the little computer out, the low-powered HF transmitter, and giving that a whirl as well. The kids really appreciate that, and I can't think of much else except for there is, the Jamboree on the internet is the other portion of that. And there are, IRC channels. Echolink obviously is also an online application as well in case you don't have a radio. And it's not just a connected node, or, it could be just like a chat room type connection. So there's a lot of aspects that you can go and show scouts the ability to communicate with other scout groups, especially international ones, because the scouting, although is world based, every group is a little bit different. So it's always interesting to kind of chat and learn about the cultures and the other groups.
Well, I did a little research today and started looking at. There's so much out there on JTOA, and it tells you. I guess if there's not an event, or if they're not having the event in your area, I think, like you said, there's ways that maybe you can organize an event and be an official part of that. But I think all those procedures and everything are on. If you just do a search on the website, RRL has a lot of information about it. A lot of information on the frequencies they use. That's
right.
Stats.
You'll find spots on the DX clusters. There is a special DX cluster just for JOTA stations, but you can find it on any of the DX clusters. I know I see tons of spots, and those spots are appreciated. It is a contest weekend. There is the Workdoll, Germany going on. There's also, I believe, 3 QSO parties going on. The scouts and scout stations will tend to stay, on the upper ends of the bands and the published frequencies, but they're hunting for contacts as well, and they want to talk to as many people as they possibly can to hopefully get someone that'll sit there and have a conversation with them. There's an opportunity if you just want to sit in your shack for the day and chit chat with scouts, and there's a lot of people in the chat room talking about the times when they were scouts and stuff like that. Those are stories that would be great to share with the youth of scouting.
Well, you and Jim are very knowledgeable of this because you're very involved in it. Tell us just a little bit about your involvement in ham. What is it? Scouting.
Radio scouting.
Radio
Yeah,
scouting,
well,
yeah.
I'm a committee chair for my son's troop. I have two boys in a troop here in Billings, Montana, and so I do all the paperwork. They say I keep the calendar going and events happening, and I show up to them every chance I get because it's a great experience. I try to incorporate ham radio anytime I can by stashing some equipment in the backpack when we go backpacking, and once in a while I can get on there, but these guys are crazy now. They like going on these crazy hiking trips that I'd rather carry some more food and comfort than my radio.
Yeah, will there be special call signs that these events use?
Yeah. So we have the K2BSA call sign program where they can have a portable station, and we talk about these. Every other week or so, we put a report out on the amateur radio news line with the activations of the week. But you can go to our website and check our calendar, and there's a ton of K2BSA portable stations operating from special areas like the National Scouting Museum in Texas. And I think for Jamboree on the Air, we have stations in Alaska, and I believe Hawaii is also scheduled. So you can work places like that with the K2BSA call sign. Obviously, there's only so many call districts, so not everybody can operate with that. But you can still work a ton of other stations that'll be operating local hams calls and yeah, it's a great opportunity.
So there's over 1 million, I guess, Boy Scouts that take part in this, and I read where about 200,000 Girl Scouts also take part.
Yeah,
how are we going to get those numbers?
There's been a recent changes with the Girl Scout program and amateur radio as well. I'm not sure if Jim's up on all of that stuff. Jim, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. The couple of things on that. Deborah Johnson at the ARRL has been working very closely with the Girl Scouts in getting them engaged around amateur radio. There's a thinking day on the air that the Girl Scouts operate. There's also I don't remember the patch name, but there's a new patch, a technology patch that ARRL has worked with the Girl Scouts on. And in fact, if you're interested in keeping up with this, we have a Jamboree on the Air newsletter that's issued more frequently as we get closer to Jamboree on the Air, but issued throughout the year to keep you updated on what's happening in scouting. And you can subscribe to that on the k2bsa.net website. But also about Girl Scouts. Jamboree on the Air is, as I mentioned, operated by the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Now, that is a Boy Scout movement, but in many countries, it's a co-ed program. Canada, it's boys and girls in their scouting program. But even so, there is a World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, and that's where the Girl Scouts USA their organization reports to. And at the beginning of this year, the World Organization of the Scout Movement, the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts signed a cooperative agreement. And so they're now working much closer together. And in fact, the registration system for Jamboree on the Air stations asks, which organization are you in? WUSM, the Boy Scout program, or WAGS, the Girl Scout program, and then it asks country and etc. So, indeed, there are. I'm not sure of the exact numbers from 2015 for Girl Scout participation, but it was certainly in that range of 100 to 200,000.
Okay, cool. Well, I tell you, I've really learned a lot tonight about this. As I said to you earlier when we talked, I've been a ham for a long time, but really never took part in any of the Jamboree on the Airs. And I might just try to get in there now and maybe make some contacts with some of these people.
Yeah, it's always a fun time.
Okay, so let's see, Bill, you're going to be around in the chat room for a few minutes, and I think Jim, you're also in there. in the chat room. If there's any more questions, maybe you can answer them in the chat room. But the best place to get information, let's give the website site again. I know that ARRL has a lot of information on it, but you also have information too from, what is it, the K2BSA, right?
Right. The number one site to go to, I would suggest, is scouting.org/JOTA. And that's the official site for the Boy Scouts of America. And there's operators guidelines there. There are guidelines for scout leaders. And particularly in that operators guidelines, that's the place where we keep all of the frequencies. So it's 14.290. That's the 20-meter phone frequency, and that's where it really will gather this year. But all those frequencies are there. The other website definitely is the K2BSA.net website. K2BSA is an amateur radio association dedicated to extending the reach of amateur radio within scouting. And so it publishes a ton of information there. Well, in fact, one of the questions on the website here is, I worked K2BSA in August, could never find where to send the QSL card. There's actually a page with a table of all the authorized K2BSA operations and exactly where to send your QSL card. And in fact, I think the link's on the QRZ.com page for K2BSA, and click on the link and it'll take you there. But lots of stuff going on for K2BSA. Oh, one of the things I'll mention too, we were talking about special call signs. Certainly the K2BSA/portable thing is available. A lot of stations for Jamboree on the air are using the 1x2 call signs. So it's K3S or whatever they're reserving for the weekend. And then there are literally hundreds of call signs out there that have BSA in the call, and they're typically associated with a local scout council, a local venturing crew, or ham radio club, or there's various combinations like KB0SA, those kinds of things. So there's a ton of that out there. A lot of very dedicated ham radio scouting guys.
All right. Well, guys, it's about 9:31 here Central Time, so I think we're going to go ahead and move on to our hangout here in just a minute. We really appreciate you, Jim and William, for coming on here and talking about this program, and I think we've stirred up a lot of interest. There's a lot of people in the chat room that were part of this as they were growing up. And if there's any questions, I'm sure that they now know where to go, and they also know that they can find, at least I know Bill's usually in the chat room every Tuesday night, and Jim, hopefully you'll be joining us on Tuesdays, and maybe people can also contact you if they've got questions.
Yep, you can always get me on the chat room, and always at Twitter at NE4RD.
Right, and I'll be on the chat room here, and the contact page at K2BSA.net goes to the webmaster, who is me, and also on Twitter with the handle at K5ND.
All right, well, thanks to both of you. It's been a great segment tonight. We really appreciate you coming on with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right, so hey, let me just mention something about WBCQ. I didn't mention it earlier during our break. We're running a little late tonight, but and I will say again to Lord Robert out there, we named Robert. All you guys have gotten to know Robert in the chat room. Robert is the program director there at WBCQ, and he's on here every night putting our audio on the show, and we like to play with Robert sometimes there. And Robert, I've talked to Robert a number of times, and he has this English accent. So I thought maybe we should be calling him Sir or something like that, but he prefers Lord Robert. So we're going to start calling Robert Lord Robert in the chat room every Tuesday night now when we talk to him. But hey, let me just say something about WBCQ. This is a very famous international shortwave station up in Monticello, Maine. It's got a lot of history. You are to do a Google search on that, and you will find it fascinating. I think the history and what came around before the station was actually put on the air. But anyway, if you would like to be on WBCQ, Alan Weiner, the owner there, is running a special that we can talk about on here, and it's for $25 an hour. You can get yourself a radio program on WBCQ, and they'll put you on. And you can either send them a tape, or they'll figure out a way to patch you in. But there's a couple different frequencies that you can be on. But guys, for that price that they're offering right now, you can't go wrong if you want to be on an international famous shortwave station that's heard around the planet on WBCQ. $25 an hour you can get on there. So hey, send an email to WBCQ@WBCQ and ask Robert there, or ask Alan to give you details if you want to get on. And I think it'd be cool. You know, many of us got started in ham radio being shortwave listeners, and shortwave is still alive out there. All right, so let's see what's going on now. Thank you, Lord Robert, for extending our time tonight. He extended our radio broadcast so we wouldn't cut off this last subject we had. Let's see. We're going to go to Hangout now. Yeah, there's a link that's been posted there. So we're going to go to our Hangout part. The official program is over, but the informal program starts now, and what that means is up to 10 people can join us on the program here with your video. So you'll come in, and we're going to be sitting around the coffee table, 10 of us. So we're looking forward to anybody who wants to join. I'm sure William's already in there, and probably Doc's in there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get me on Hangout here. So let me hang up with Jim and William here. All right, so let me a couple mouse clicks, and I should be on. It's a few more than a couple mouse clicks, but I'm getting there. The link is posted in the chat room. There we go. Let's see. We got a few people in here.
Many camps?
I am not.
Let's see who we got there.
Oh, hi, Tom.
I see Bill. I see Bill and Bill. And there's Dan. I see Dan, and I see Mark. Mark's in there. Marty. No,
Marty's in
here. I couldn't see the name, and he didn't have a picture up, so it's Marty, I believe.
No, he didn't.
Is that Marty?
There he is. The goat is back.
I see a goat. Marty, is that you? Come on, join us.
Yeah, it's me. I just stand by.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me get this ticker off the bottom, and let me see if I can put you guys on the show here. If I figure out how to do it. First of all, looks like 9330 is still up. Maybe Robert, pull the plug on 9330 if you want to. Let's see. Well, we'll try this one right here. That'll probably work. All right. Well, guys, well, hey, the show turned out pretty good tonight, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I got to try to adjust this picture
Can you guys hear me all right?
What was that?
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you. Just a little weak, but I hear you.
Maybe I think I'm probably using the wrong mic. Maybe.
Oh, I hear you. You're not quite real loud, you know.
Oh yeah. I can't get my dang video to work either.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, good evening, fellas.
Well, hey, how you doing here?
Good evening.
All right.
I'll be back in a sec.
All right. Well, Dan, good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while. Where you been keeping yourself, Dan? Where'd Dan go? Dan? Dan's not talking. I think he's asleep. Hello, Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Had to wake you up here, man. You were asleep on us. I think you were asleep.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Hadn't seen you in a while, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, I just decided to drop in here for a change.
Okay, cool. Well, we got the regulars here in the room tonight. We got Bill up in, I think he's in Maine. We got other Bill out in Montana. We got you. Now, let's see. You're up north. Bloom something. Bloom blob. And where are you? Where are you, Dan?
Who?
Dan. I think Dan went back to sleep on us.
Who is the question asked to?
I was asking Dan. I forget. Bloom.
Yeah, I keep getting echoes here, but what's the question?
Yeah. What's the city you're located in up here?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Near what city?
Appleton.
Oh yeah, Appleton. That's what I was trying to think of. Appleton. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, right at the corner of Walk and Don't Walk.
Yeah, I got you. I've been there before.
You take that left turn at Albuquerque.
All right.
Well, we spend all that time at Appleton, at that darn Fox River Mall.
Now.
Uh-oh. Where are you at?
Marquette, UP.
Oh, Marquette.
He's in. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we're neighbors.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Dan, you gotta look at my hand. He's up here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
you got another
I know
hand.
where he's at.
Or do I do it like this? I don't know. Oh, like that? You do it like that?
Yeah.
Is that the peninsula right there?
Yep. Right in the crease of your thumb right there. That's where we are right
I
there.
thought the state was standing up like this.
That's the lower peninsula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're in the upper peninsula. That's the Downer Peninsula.
I got you. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn the audio off to the radio station. I think maybe Robert's already turned it off, but I'm going to turn it off. Yeah, he's signing it off, so there we go.
I flap to Marquette occasionally.
Okay. And at Sawyer International Airport, where I used to be a TSA screener.
Oh, okay.
One of my retirement jobs that I quit. After a year and a half as a TSA screener, I told him, take this job and
Yeah.
you can have it. I thought it was going to be a great retirement job. I retired from law enforcement. I thought this would be a nice retirement job. There you go.
Hey! I expected Papa Doc to be in here. He was at the chat room. Why isn't Papa Doc in here tonight?
Yeah, he was active in the chat room for sure.
Yeah, I figured he'd be in here tonight. Maybe he's still listening. I see Jerry. Hey, Jerry.
He's trying to find a cigar.
Hey, Jerry. How you doing, Jerry?
Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh yeah, we hear you.
What are you doing there on the floor? Looks like you're packing.
You ready? Want to see Tom?
Yeah, let
Take a look.
me see what's going on there.
Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can bring you guys up, and then where are you guys anyway? I'm not seeing that.
That's not a pressure cooker, is it?
No, man. Let me show you what's going on here, Tom. Let me see what's going on here.
Okay. Just check it.
That's a pink chair.
Man, I don't know what you're looking at.
Oh, we're looking at
My screen is filling up.
I think he's controlling his electronics.
I don't know what
Hey,
he's
Bill,
doing.
you're not out in the garage tonight?
Nope. I'm in the basement.
Well, let me see.
Oh,
I tell you
there you
what
go.
it is.
I'm
What it is.
upgrading.
The video's not staying on. Let me lock him on here. There. Now I locked him on. What do you got there, boy? That's a FT.
Got some radios there.
Yeah. That's something. I can't read
Tom,
it.
I'm packing. I'm looking through my amateur radio stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some stuff that I can give to some local hams here. I was talking to a couple of some newbies.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring out if I can give them some of my stuff. You know, I got cables here.
Oh, that's nice. I help get somebody else started.
The whole works. I'm going
Put
to.
you
I got.
back on.
I
There we
got. I
go.
got two of these boxes. You see. And if you take
Yeah.
a look down here,
Well, that's cool.
Well, there you go.
cool. Okay. All right. Well, get some new hams on the air. That'd be good. It looks like a watt meter there. Yeah.
I don't know, man. My connection is pretty poor here, though. And I'm sitting right in front of the router, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It's like sticking. Ay. Let me get myself a little.
You need to figure. I thought your job. You worked on the internet or something.
You thought I did what?
I thought you worked on the internet.
I didn't work on the internet.
You didn't ever work on the internet.
Yeah, right, Tom.
Fix that connection.
That's what I'm doing, guys. That's what I'm doing.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah. Who is that? Is that Marty?
Oh, somebody actually heard me.
Now, who is that? You're Mac. You're Mac something.
I don't have a cam. Sorry.
Oh, no cam.
Well, you sound good.
Yeah,
well, I do have a cam, but it's like 15 years old and doesn't work with the Windows 7.
So,
sorry.
So who are we looking at? That's Mac. Somebody Mac in. That's
Matty,
Mac in.
Really? How old do you think my camera is?
Let's see.
Well, the camera here is so old. Kathy has to keep flashing that gunpowder behind it.
Oh, there he is.
I hear somebody.
All right, who's the Mac? The Mac guy. M-A-C-I-N-T. Mac Int. That's all I see.
Oh, my name's. You can call me Mac and Trasher.
Mac and Trasher.
Because I hate Macs.
Okay.
And I want to smash them, but
all I see for your name is Mac INT ...
Yeah, my full name is Mac and Trasher.
Oh, okay. Cool. And where are you located?
I'm in eastern Ohio.
Okay. Cool. Very good. So, are you a ham?
Yes, sort of. Actually, long story short, I got my license back in 1994. Was only in to amateur radio somewhat over the years. Then I got in. Oh, I hear myself.
Yeah, you did.
I hear myself in the speakers from like 30 seconds ago.
Oh, you need to go to the video player on the webcast and just mute the audio on the video player because it's 30 seconds delayed.
Yeah, that's enough to drive yourself. That's if you listen to it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I sure don't want to hear myself over and over again.
I have to hear myself once. I don't want to hear myself twice.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Tom, by the way, did you see the video I put up for HRO? They liked it so much that they put it on their website.
No, I didn't see that. I'll look. It's on HRO. Okay.
Yeah, just go to HRO.com all the way to the bottom.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, and Appleton usually went on the 7.6 repeater down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I usually get on when I show up. It hasn't been too busy lately when I've been down there.
We're doing some upgrades on the 7.6.
No. Yeah, we gotta make it down there. I got a sister just moved out of Kimberly a month ago, 2 weeks ago. And another sister in Manitowoc, another one in Fond du Lac. So we get down there.
Yeah, I'm less than a mile from Kimberly.
Okay.
Funny thing is I bought a house in Kimberly. Then the company I was working for, I got transferred down to Florida. Moved down to Florida, bought a house down there. Then decided to move back, and now I live less than a mile away from where I used to live.
Yeah, my sister, her husband sold their house in 12 hours in Kimberly. They would just moved to Texas with his job.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, my mother was in a nursing home in Little Chute.
Ah, okay.
Well,
yeah, I did that video for HRO, and then I also did a video on my vehicle. Got a new vehicle and put HF in there.
oh, cool.
1,300 watts mobile.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I saw that.
What's a few watts between friends, right?
You know, I put an HF rig in my Silverado, but well, that thing generates some noise. I know it's a fuel pump. It makes a crazy sound, man. You can hear it just cycling. You know, not sure how to clear it up. I mean, of course, the higher bands I don't hear it as bad. Noise blanker takes some of it out, but
That's something I've never had any interest in putting an HF rig in my car. So
well,
the dual bander's enough.
now that
I don't spend
put
enough
that,
time on the road to make it work well.
Now that I put that camper top on the back of it, I took off the mount where I put my antenna, so I really don't have an antenna on there now for HF. But you know, we usually have so much stuff going on in a truck. You know, 2 meters, 440, 220, webcasting, cell phones, all that stuff going. I don't think we could stand having a noisy HF rig running at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see Jeff. I see Jeff.
Personally, I like running HF mobile because, especially with the kind of runs that I do, 50, 60 miles at a clip, you know, you can hold on a pretty good QSO in an hour, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well, I don't see Jeff in here tonight in 3VE. He's still in the chat room.
Probably past his bedtime.
So he hadn't gone to bed yet because he's still in the chat room. Maybe he fell asleep. And I'm surprised Doc's not in here. You know.
That never happens. People never fall asleep during a webcast.
We got then W9 WKJ 419 Spring Street. Okay. I take it you're local here then.
Who?
You talking to Dan?
Somebody in the
thing in the chat room. Somebody I just saw posted to put a Marquette address in there. I'm not familiar with who it is. W9.
K9 WKT.
Hey, Tom.
WKJ.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to show you guys something.
All right. What do you got there?
I don't know if you guys are seeing this.
Wait a minute.
Looks like coax or something.
Is that a rope? Is that a rope?
That is not coax.
That's a rope, isn't it?
No, sir. That's a J-pole made out of TV.
It's twin lead. It's twin lead antenna. You made you a J-pole out of it.
That's right.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. This thing works repeaters as much as 100 miles away from where I am right now.
Yeah, they're great little antennas.
Yes, sir.
I'm out of here. I gotta get going. I gotta get up early in the morning.
All right, man. Well, thanks for being on the show tonight. That was good.
Thanks for having Jim and myself on. It was great.
Yeah.
Hey, you need to come back, though. You need to come. You need to tell us more about the Jota. I haven't worked the Jota station since 2009 when I was a J3.
There's a ton of them on there, and hopefully we can get a lot of support this year and get a lot of them to register, and so people know where they're at and get them on the air.
Well, I got Jerry beat. I don't think I worked one since 1964, but I'm going to now. I'm going to get under now.
Y'all can do better than that.
Yeah.
Well, take care. Have a good evening.
All right.
Man. You have a good night.
Good night,
Bill. Take care.
Night, Bill.
Well, Bill, up there in Maine, you're awful quiet tonight.
No, I don't live in Maine. I live in Massachusetts.
I'm sorry. I get those. You know, both of them are both M words. They're both up there. They're both up there real close to each other.
Anybody straight where we live.
I know.
Right. That's right.
Well, let me just say this. I live 52 miles north of Marty. So that'll give you an idea where I live. He lives on the south side of the city. I live on the north side of the city.
Oh, wow. Cool. Yep.
Yep. So, Jerry, I'm curious. Where are you located tonight, sir?
Where I have always been located, Dallas, Texas.
Oh, I thought you were going on vacation.
No, sir, not as yet, man. It's not December as yet. Come on.
Oh, okay. You go when it gets.
You got to understand, that's about the best Texas accent I ever heard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, my sister and her husband. My sister
Don't
and her
tell them
husband
that
just
now.
my sister and her husband just moved north of Dallas, and I think it's called Greenlee or something like that. Yeah.
Greenlee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit back and watch this unfold.
I gotta ask Jerry if he knows where Valley Mills is.
Valley Mills. That sounds familiar.
It's kind of like north. Let's see, north. If you're coming from the south, it's going to be northeast of Dallas. I don't know. It's near Crawford and all this other stuff there. I have a good friend that lives there. WA5ZAI. His name is Haas, and Tom knows who he is. I mean, he used to work at the Pentagon, and I used to work at the Pentagon years ago.
Valley Mills. Hey, Valley Mills is located off State Highway 6, approximately 20 miles northwest of Waco.
There you go.
The city was incorporated on March the 20th, 1896.
He's going to have to pull up a map to see where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, but I'm doing that right now, actually.
I'm sure you are.
It's in Bosque and McLennan counties. How can it be in both counties? Oh, yeah, it's in both counties. In central Texas. Population was 1,203 in the 2010 census. Man, that's a big town, 1,203. That's a town I grew up in had, it's got 900 and something now, I think.
That's still a big that is still a big town because there is a small town on the 287 going north towards Oklahoma that has about 397 persons in the last census. A little town called Bellevue.
Oh, really?
Bellevue, huh?
Well, there's a lot of towns out there. That are even smaller.
What am I looking for again?
Valley
Mills. The unemployment rate in Valley Mills is only 4.8%. The cost of living is 21.60% lower than the U.S. average.
Valley Mills, Texas. Okay, let's see what the map shows me because I don't know how I end up in Esperanto. Every time I type in Valley Mills,
it looks like it's southwest of Dallas, Fort Worth, just a little bit south of Waco.
Okay, well, no, I'm not familiar with that area. I know Waco. I usually go to Waco. As a matter of fact, I went to Waco on Thursday morning.
All right.
But for some reason, when I type Valley Mills in, I keep coming up with some little town called Esparto.
Well, that's because you're using a weirdo browser. Get you a good browser. Type in Valley Mills and it'll come up, man.
Man, I'm using Google, man.
Oh, I don't know. You using Jamaica Google, I think.
Hey. Be careful now. You don't want to go there.
Yeah. Well, when I type it in, my Google brings me up to Valley Mills, Texas.
Yeah.
Why you say he's from Jamaica, man? He sounds like a Texan to me.
I don't know, man.
And funny enough, I am from Jamaica. I'm from Grenada. Yes,
okay.
man.
Grenada.
Not Granada, because I'm not Espanol. No soy Espanol. Okay?
You gotta speak proper English. People understand what it says to them.
I got to do what? Okay, then. You don't want to go there, right?
No.
I'm just greening you, guy. I'm greening you.
I know, man.
Somebody's got to give you a hard time, and I'm just the guy to do it.
Well,
all right.
See, me, I'm nice, kind, and considerate, and I rarely brag. I'm modest, too. I am so modest I can't help myself. You know, sometimes it's even hard for me to be me.
Okay.
Well, you know the prime minister. You know who the prime minister of Grenada is, don't you? It's Doctor the Right Honorable.
Do what, Tom?
Keith Mitchell. The prime minister of Grenada is Doctor the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell.
Keith Mitchell, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I know Google is working for you right now, Tom.
Yeah. My good Google's working, man. This ain't Jamaica Google here.
Whatever.
What am I watching right now?
Oh, you're watching Roundtable. You better be glad that we're on these subjects tonight.
At least it's not medical tonight.
Yeah, we're not discussing medical issues tonight. We usually have Papa Doc in here with us, a doctor from Tennessee that usually joins us, and we all get diagnosed our ailments and stuff on here, and you know.
We talk about anything except religion and politics.
Yeah.
No, we can talk about them.
Oh, look who snuck in.
Oh, did Jeff make it?
Hello.
Where you been, Jeff?
I've been fooling around with radio.
Oh boy.
That's what we do, right?
I guess. Well,
Trying to figure
when I
some
get my
stuff
new
out.
radio in, I'm gonna try it out, but so far I hadn't got it yet, man.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're seeing this. This is the base for
I see that.
A K40 whip antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a magnetic
It's for-
base. Looks like a good
it's-
magnet.
it's
Hold
for
it
getting
over your
And
watch. Hold it over your watch for a second.
No. Hell no. I'm trying to figure out what I should do with it.
You know,
because
that
I don't have
reminds
any-
me.
I don't
Yeah,
have any
that's
use
a
for it.
nice magnet. You know, I
Save
see.
them out.
You know, this is. I don't know. It kind of bothers me. I see these guys these hams that. You know these. What are they? I guess it's these Larson. Is it Larson mobile antennas that got about a 54-inch mast and then they got the little loading coil and then a whip above it? Is that a Larson?
Yeah, that's the Larson.
Larson dual benders. I run them on both my vehicles.
Yeah. You know, I've seen people that get a mag mount or something like that, and they screw in just the top from the loading coil up and put it on there and say it works. I mean,
How the heck does that work?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hey. It's called amateur radio. Okay?
Yeah. Well,
That's amateur, all right.
I think it might work, but you might get out a little further if you put the rest of the antenna on there.
Yeah, I stuck up on the top shelf.
Oh, the top side. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any such thing as beginner radio because that's pretty much reaching for at that point.
Yeah.
No, beginner radio, that's chicken band.
Hey, be careful. That's where I started.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah, I did too.
I've got some of those Larson antennas, but nowadays, I think it works just as well. I mean, I've got one of these SGC 235 auto antenna tuners, that you put out at the antenna, and I can just put a steel whip on there and put that antenna tuner right there on the base of that whip, and to me, it's better than having to go out there and change coils and bands. I mean,
Yeah.
I can work.
Did you win that too?
Do what?
Did you win that too?
No, I didn't. I bought that, man. I think somebody gave me the whip. It was a CB whip, I'm sure, 102 inch.
Yeah, here's the other thing that in my kid
what
boys.
I run here. That's what I run here. 102-inch whip with a woofer coil on it. Works fantastic on HF.
Yeah, and
And
what's the coil for?
Where do you have that stuck?
Where do I have it?
Uh-huh.
On the bumper of my vehicle. I run 1,300 watts to it.
Ha ha ha.
So
You wanna know where I
what's the
have mine?
coil? What's the coil for, Dan? Do you have to change the taps to for different bands or something? Is that what?
Yeah,
it
you
is?
got to change the taps for different bands, and you got to make sure it isn't transmitting when you change taps.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Over a
Well,
little bit.
1,300 watts. You couldn't use a tuner like I've got, but I mean, I
It's
just
done.
run the whip. I just run the whip with the antenna tuner mounted right back there, and run a 14-inch piece of wire from it to the whip, and
It's done.
it's part of the antenna.
Yeah, I saw that box there. Yeah.
Let me show you what. Let me show you what. Right now, I have my 102 inches on my
Oh,
bicycle
hey,
handlebar on the
yeah.
porch. I'm on the third floor, right?
Uh-huh.
And until my cat connected at the back of my 857 Delta, when it was working, it got damaged a couple of days ago for some stupid reason. It stopped work. This is what I had connected to my 857 Delta, and the other end went to the 102 with antenna on the coach. And here's the rest of the story. I am able to walk the islands as far as Venezuela in the south with that 102 whip.
Those work beautifully.
Yes, sir, it does.
That's about the same size and same type box my SG 237's in.
That's right, same box.
You know, the only thing I don't like about it, and it's okay for mobile and stuff like that, but it's only rated, that antenna tuner is only rated at 100 watts. And
that's right.
You know, I'd love to have something where I could use here at the house, and you know, I've got, you know, out there right now, I've got I think about a 70 or 80 foot piece of wire going vertical, and I've got that tuner on it with some buried ground radios, but it's only good for 100. It's only good for 100 watts, so.
Yeah, I've got the MFJ tuner here hooked up to Al, so.
Yeah.
My AL82.
Hey, I got one for you guys. How many of you guys remember this?
Well, let's see. Hold it back a little bit. Hold it back.
Standard? No. ADI.
Oh, okay.
600H.
Oh, that's cool.
Over 10 years, actually more than 10 years old, because I had that when I went to Antigua in 1998.
I still got an 02AT.
I've got a bunch of 2ATs laying around here. That was one of the best radios there was, man.
That was one of the best radios out there, man.
With the thumb wheel at the top, you just dial a frequency in, and that's it, man.
That's right. And here is its replacement right now.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But Old Faithful is still working. Just need to charge the batteries.
What am I watching right now?
You don't want to know.
The thing is, I only just got back in amateur radio, and I have like a 2-meter radio and a CB. And even what I'm looking at now, I'm just like, wow.
But you know,
don't
I mean,
judge all ham
people,
radio by
it
this
didn't take a lot of money to get in. Ham radio.
Oh, I don't. There's no way I don't. I'm on the internet.
Don't you look at my...
When you're on the...
Don't you
when you're on the internet, there's so much you can see. But I'm learning quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan, take a look at this, Dan. Let me change cameras here.
You guys are starting to make me dizzy.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Now look. There you go. Now,
Yep.
look what I did.
Oh man!
Look what I did, man.
Whoa.
Let's see that. Let's see that again, Tom. I'm not seeing that too good.
Yeah, he's got a power adapter coming right out of the bottom of the 2AT.
I put me some wires on the battery contacts, and you know what I did with this? I had a 440 repeater. I had a 440 repeater here, and I built up a little remote base.
Okay.
In a little 1-foot square box, and I had this radio mounted in that box for my remote base, and I could come in on 2 meters and change the let's see. I could come in on 440, and I could change the frequency of this 2AT and get on any frequency or any, you know, and it was a remote base, you know, a 440 in and 2 meters out. And there was a schematic somewhere. This is like probably 1970 when I built this, but it showed how they opened this up, and that thumb wheel right there. You take a ribbon cable and you lay it in this crack of this thing, and you solder it to that thumb wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the little circuitry you build up, your touch tones would actually set these frequencies remotely. But these are the best little radios right here. The only thing
Those
you
are
don't have a tone in them.
workhorses there, Tom. I used to have 2 of those. I gave them away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've got, I think 3 or 4 of these still here.
When I just got into amateur radio, that's what I got. Let me show you guys my setup here. Let's see if I'm bringing this. Let me see if I can focus this thing now. There you go. That's my Yesu.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the 857D.
That's right. And if I move across, let's see, this way. No, that way. Oh man, what am I doing? And the other one is the 1802.
That's cool.
What you saw earlier was the box. That's the rig sitting there. It's not connected to the power supply because I don't really use it. I'm hardly home anyway. So that's my station, dudes.
So let me see. There we go. All right, there's my station right there. Let's see if I can get a camera on it. There's my station here. I'm adding a FT 991 Yaesu to it any day now. But I've got a.
That's a ham shack.
Yeah, I got a.
Wow. That's your shack, Tom?
That's what?
Not bad.
This is I started. I was gonna sell this and buy me an Icom 7300.
Not bad. Is that a Kenwood?
Kathy wanted me a.
Not
F991.
bad.
Yes, that's a Kenwood.
That setup is probably worth more than my sister's house.
So there's the shack.
Well, definitely that's worth more than my house.
This is the workbench over here.
Whoa.
That's my workbench.
Woo!
Let me get
Tom, remember me in your will now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's one of.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. Well, hey, yeah. I'm glad you're here, Jeff. So then we get back. Here's our studio. Right here.
There's a setup I've got.
All right.
Just this.
Well, that's it. I gotta make room for the FT991. Hopefully it'll be here in the next couple weeks.
Oh, did you get the 991 Alpha?
Well, Kathy won for me at Huntsville, the big prize. She won the 991 for me.
Yeah.
And they brought it to me and said, well, hey, the 991A will be out next month. If you want us to just keep this, we'll mail you a 991A. And yeah, I wanted the 991A because it's got some changes to it where the spectrum scope's real time. On the 991, it's not real time. You have to press a button for the spectrum analyzer to take a picture. But
You see that link that I just popped there? That's a picture of my shack.
Let's see. We don't use many links on here. Let's see. I don't even know where to find a link. Let's see. There we go. Right there. I'll send a message. I don't know, Dan. I can't even find Dan. Where do I find a link?
Here, I'll send it again.
I mean, I'm not even seeing a chat room.
I got it.
Yeah.
If you look over there to the left,
okay, I got it now. I got
screen,
it. Yeah, I got it now.
There's a little thing there. Looks like a notebook.
I got it. I'm gonna put it on here. Let's see. There we go. It should be coming.
Says I'm going to HTTP.
It should be coming back to everybody. I think everybody seeing that.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
What am I looking at? A
sending the
lot
picture
of
back.
really cool stuff.
That's my shack.
Yeah, cool.
Well, if you don't count the really cheap PC speakers on top.
Hey, I got some real cheap ones here. Let's see how I get this thing off now. Let me think. You get it off. Let's see.
Those are the speakers so that I can listen to the HF rig.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting use out of them. Although I do see, let's see, router, 2 routers, speaker on top. Everything PC based I recognize. Everything else, I've kind of forgotten. I'm sorry, I'm trying to relearn everything because I actually got really interested in amateur radio lately. So I'm way behind the times.
Well, hey guys. I mean, hey, get back in it and you'll have fun. There's the technology is changing, man.
You don't have to have much. You don't have to have all those guys have got. I got.
I'm well aware of that. Like if you can look at my setup right now, I'm looking at it right now. I have a 2-meter Kenwood mobile radio and a really old Channel Master World Band radio, and that's about as much as I got right now. And I just recently made a quarter wave ground plane antenna just to get on the air.
Yep.
So I'm off to the right track. And I was going to actually ask about various antenna types, but I'm actually very intrigued watching this guy.
I just got the.
I'll tell you something. You can do. There's a guy who keeps going on chat our on my Facebook group, and every day he has a new question, and he didn't know what to do, and I think he's about to drive himself crazy. He's kind of got some restrictions. He don't know what to put up. He's bought these 6 or 7 band multi-band vertical antennas, and he didn't know how to mount it, and then he got it up and it didn't work good. And I'm just trying to tell him, I said, look, man, your easiest thing to do and this is what I suggested to a ham that lives down a block from me. If you want an antenna that'll work all bands and it'll work well, and you'll have great SWR from one end to the other, get you a little auto antenna tuner, put it out at the antenna, and let it tune you. Put you a piece of wire up, put you an L up, run you 100 feet of wire out up a tree and out horizontal. First of all, nobody's going to see the wire. It's almost invisible. And second of all, you can get on any band you want to, and your SWR is going to be just about perfect. Or you can get you a metal antenna and cut it, or not cut it, but a lot of these commercial antennas are, they'll work every band, but you only got a 20 kilohertz or 100 kilohertz bandwidth where the SWR is decent. So it becomes useless in the other parts of the band. I mean, I'm trying to show him how to do something very simple that'll give him great results in his environment. Let's see.
Well, I was actually, when you said about
okay, had to adjust that right here just a little bit.
Oh, okay. When you talk about covering all the different bands, I thought you were going to actually suggest a disc cone, but
no. I mean, and even that. I mean, if you had one and it did cover, it just doesn't. I don't know.
I'm not being overly picky here. I know it's in terms of getting back at amateur radio. I was, I still remember a lot. I still remember about building antennas, about coaxial cables. I remember a lot of that stuff. It's just I want to start getting into a lot of different things, like building a lot of different kinds of antennas, and it mostly has to deal with two things.
Start with one antenna. You keep talking about building different stuff. Start with one.
Keep it simple. Just
a lot of people
just use a dipole.
And maybe there's some people in here. Hey, I'm not here to upset anybody, but you see these people. They buy what they call a R5V or whatever it is.
G5RV.
G5RV, and they put it up, and then they have to put a tuner on it to make the thing work. And I'm thinking, okay, if you're gonna, why would you buy it if you can put a tune on it? You can throw a pair of bed springs up in a tree and tune it. I mean,
you can put a screw in the tree and tune the tree.
That's right. That's right. So I tell you, a great antenna. And about 13 years ago, I took my towers down. I moved a couple times. I never put my tower and beams back up, and I work as many people on wires as I do with a beam. I'm glad I don't have it now. And
hey, Tom.
Yeah.
I have never bought myself a commercial antenna.
Yeah.
I have one commercial antenna in Grenada that was given to me by an American ham friend of mine.
Yep.
And he gave it to me. I put it in the backyard, used it for one weekend. It worked perfectly. And then I took it down, stuck it in my storeroom, and it was left there, and it is still there.
Yep. Well, look, let me tell you something. Man. One of the best antennas I found is a loop antenna. Or I had a loop at the other house, but here, when I moved to this location, I made it a delta loop. It's a triangle, three-sided, and I have a lot of nice trees. I have some 100-foot trees all around my house, so it's real easy to pull some antennas up. But that delta loop, the thing about a delta loop, if you build it for 40 meters, it'll work on 40, 20, 10, 6. It'll work on all those bands, and you don't even have to tune it. You can cut it where it's resonant on all those bands. And if you want a good multi-band antenna, a loop is costs nothing to build. I don't even have insulators on mine out there. I tie a little loop in a wire and stick a rope through it and pull it up in the trees.
Well, truth be told, I've actually only ever bought one antenna, and that was before I got an amateur radio. I bought a super satellite 3-foot little stubby thing, and once I got an amateur radio, of course, I started building my own antennas. I made a 2-meter ladder line, and to get back on the air, I made a quarter-wave ground plane out of coat hangers.
Yep.
So I'm on the air with coat hangers. But what I'm looking for right now, and this has nothing to do with what's going on here, I'm trying to establish connections with people locally where I am so I can work with them in terms of, first off, relearning amateur radio since 1995.
Well, what you need to do, you need to find one of the local ham clubs.
Yeah, I've actually found one, and I haven't gotten in touch with them yet, partially because of work. But I wanted to get in touch with them because I have the type of schedule where it's rotating, where every week I have certain days off. So, yeah, I can't always meet up with them. So I was hoping to meet up with people who can meet up with me, and then I can, interact with them for pretty much anything that I need in terms of, well, pretty much anything. And I was looking into acquiring more radios, given that being a technician with only a 2-meter radio, yeah, I should probably look into a little bit more than that and get more spread.
Well, you need to upgrade to a general license, and that should be that's not any more difficult than getting the tech license. And of course,
well,
there's no
if I
code
remember
requirement.
right, somebody told me. I know I sound really stupid for saying this, but wasn't it shortly? I got my license in '94, and then pretty much got cut off from amateur radio after that, and just did things as a hobby, but didn't really interact with anyone after that. When it comes to Morse code, is that required now?
Nope. Morse code. They dropped the Morse code. That's what I'm saying. It's so easy for people to get a license now. No excuses about Morse code.
Yeah, I'm a VE, and there's just the 3 classes: tech.
Oh wow! When did they drop Morse code specifically? I think it was like
87.
That's a lot of years ago, man.
When did you say?
87. 1987.
No, not in 87. The bull.
Wasn't that long ago.
No, I got my license in '94. I think somebody said like '95, '96 they dropped it.
It's a little bit after that. I'll find out.
But back when I got my license in 1964, and back then there really wasn't any difference between the tech test and the general. The only difference was the 5 minutes versus 13 words per minute.
Yeah, that's what I had because when I got into the no-code tech thing, so I can get pretty much access to the pretty much like everybody else VHF, and mostly the 2-meter band. But and then it was just a matter of when I got my license, I lived in Baltimore, Maryland, and then right after that, I moved to a really tiny town in Sharpsville. And there was nothing there, so there was nobody I can talk to, nobody I can communicate with, and I couldn't keep up with anything, and the internet didn't exist back then. And then after that, I just pretty much got disconnected from it, somewhat lost interest in it, and then there was one point where I was living in the basement of a triplex, and when you live there and the only part sticking out of the ground is your head when you stand up, you can't really propagate radio. So But now I'm currently living in a house where I can set up antennas, and I got interested in it again, and I noticed there are actually some very active groups nearby that I haven't gotten in contact with yet, so I'm really interested in this. Ooh, I really want to build some antennas and talk with people and get out there.
You know, the nice thing about the antennas and where I live, I mean, I could probably put a tower up here.
It's not about the antennas.
Yeah, but you know what I was going to say is I've got antennas up here at this house, and I live in a very nice neighborhood, but I've got a lot of antennas up, and probably my neighbors don't even know on my ham. You can't even see the antennas. I've got a 40-meter delta loop up. I've got a 80-foot vertical up. I've got inverted V's for 80, 40, 20. I've got inverted V's for 17, for 12. I've got all these antennas up out there, and I can go out in the backyard and look up in there, and I can't even follow the black wires. They get lost in the trees. So, man, I mean, you know, it doesn't take much, and like I said, man, that Delta Loop. Hey, I worked the Heard Island expedition a few months ago. There were many people that complained that they could not work Heard Island. It was a very difficult contact to make, but I worked them on the 10 megahertz band, and I didn't even have an antenna up for the 10 meg band. And the day I worked them, I went outside. I got me some of this military field wire, and I cut me a length of a 10 megahertz full loop, and I put it in a delta loop, a triangle. I pulled it up out there, turned it broadside to the direction that Heard Island was in, and I worked them on CW where many people didn't work them. And that antenna was built in probably 30 minutes, and I took it down after that.
A triangle? I actually don't know about a triangle.
That's just a delta loop. It's the same. It's a full wave loop of wire. You know, you think of a full wave loop as a square, but it doesn't have to be a square. A full wave loop. It can be a square. It can be an octagon. It can be it can be a circle. It can be a circle. It can be a star. Any way you can get a full wavelength of wire out, and if you put it in a triangle form, it only takes it only takes two places to hold it up, kind of like a dipole. You hold it two ends.
Basically, it's a dipole in a funky shape.
Yeah, it's a dipole, but it's basic. It's a loop, you know. So from one side to the other, and you know,
it's a loop with corners.
It works fine.
By the way, they eliminated the code in 2007.
Okay.
Oh, I was well out of amateur radio at that point.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to take off. Wow, it's late here for me. It's 11:30.
Yep. All right. Well.
Hey, you guys, I tell you guys, but living in the future already. You know? It's only 10:27 in the world. Where you guys living?
They're not in the future yet. They're still issued. They're still tonight.
We're in the right time zone. We're at where you guys are behind. That's all.
I'm in the East Coast, so I already lost an hour's sleep to you guys. So.
It's 11:30 to me too, but it's not that late for me.
Well, I got to get up at 5. So see you guys.
So okay, all right. We'll see you, Jeff. And
Jeff.
And for
Mac and everyone else, 7-3.
I forget the name. Mackin something. Hates Macintosh.
Macintrasher.
Macintrasher. Yeah. Again, welcome. I guess you took in part of the show tonight. You found us somehow.
Actually, I found you because of well, how do I connect this? There is the Canfield Fair here in Eastern Ohio, where they had an amateur radio display. I spoke with them. They have a website called 20over9.org.
Yeah.
And they have a calendar of events, and they actually have your site listed every Tuesday.
Oh,
so,
cool.
And I happen to be off today, so
that's cool.
So I came.
We try to have a lot of good ham radio shows. We've got a guy on here that's the chief engineer of Radio Waves, and if you want to talk antenna theory and building antennas, and he's the guy.
I saw that tower.
He's on here quite a bit.
That tower.
But,
that tower.
Yeah. You know, we try to have different guests on here and make it a ham radio show, and hopefully it'll be interesting to you, and you'll get back in the hobby.
Oh, I'm definitely back in. I just need. There's two things I need: is knowledge and tools, and I am more than willing to learn about every type of antenna, every type of cable, every radio, everything. I love amateur radio. And the fact that I can actually get back into it with people who live nearby, it's great.
Where are you located?
Eastern Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Nowhere near you, bro.
All right.
No.
Well, I see that Teresa, KE5MUX, is having trouble getting in the hangout. I don't know why. Teresa, close and reopen your browser and click the link. You should be able to get in. We don't have a full house yet. We've only got about 4 or 5 people in here.
Yeah, I always tell people when they're first getting on that just keep it simple. Just make a simple dipole, start with that, and then go from there. Some of these people want to get little when they're first starting too much.
Oh, I'm definitely keeping it simple. I basically have a Kenwood TM241A 2-meter radio, and I have a quarter wave ground plane antenna that I made out of coat hangers. That's where I'm starting. And I have...
That's simple.
Yeah, I have plenty of RG8 cable. Unfortunately, I picked a cable that's more like a pipe cleaner, so it's hard to bend, and I wish it was the flexible kind. But, yeah, that's where I started. And actually... one thing I've wanted to do is I have an old but really great condition CB antenna, and I wanted to kind of use that as a sort of stepping off point for HF because, well, it's pretty close to the 10-meter band, and I wanted to try things I've never made a dipole, and I've never made all the other cables that have existed, so I wanted to get in contact with people who are more experienced, and I'm going to do that at some point.
Are you serious? You never made a dipole, bro?
The simplest dipole is with coax. Sure you can make them with the ladder line and that, but the simplest one to start is with coax, center, apex, and make your dipole.
Yeah, here is a dipole I've owned since what is this?
Hey, that looks like one of my antennas.
1995.
And guess what? You don't have to. Hey,
wow, that's sloppy.
Guess what? You don't
whatever. It works.
It works.
Yeah, and hey,
I'm thinking of doing the same thing in a sense. Although I want to set it up for CB radio just as a starting point because CB is perfectly set, has set wattage, set length, all that, and actually it works out in my favor because I bought a massive 500 feet of 12 gauge wire, insulated wire that I was thinking, let's start making antennas out of this.
You can do that, and guess what? You don't need insulators. All these pictures are going to show you, put an insulator on each end. You don't need it. Tie your looping into that wire and tie your rope into it. A rope is an insulator.
Yeah, it wasn't even. I didn't plan on getting insulated. It was just there, and I was going to set up just a simple CB antenna, see if I can get it up and running, see if I can get it going. Although setting up my RG8 cable and
we're just going to have PL259s on the end of your cable.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got PL259 to solder onto it. I actually have a spare. Actually, 1, 2, maybe 3. I think 3 SO239 chassis mount coax connectors.
Yeah.
So that will help out a lot, I hope. And hopefully I can get that up and running. And then I have to figure out the length in terms of Whether it's quarter wave, half wave.
Well, a dipole is going to be a half wave. Don't make it any other link. So it's going to have to be a half wave to have the right impedance at the frequency. Just on the internet, key in half wave dipole, and it'll bring up the formula, which is real simple. But it'll also bring up a page where you can just put the frequency in and hit OK, and it'll tell you the length in feet and inches.
Yeah, I've got plenty of antenna calculators for that. Although,
yeah. And hey, make it simple. Don't even put an SO239 at the top of the antenna up there. Just take the coax up there and solder it to it.
Oh, will that work?
Well, of course, yeah, sure. That's the way probably hams have done for many years. Like I say, I came from the old days, but hey, take you a piece of plexiglass, find you an old piece of plexiglass or something, cut you a 2 or 3 inch square, run your coax up that plexiglass, strap it on there with some tie wraps or something. Take the center conductor, bend it one way, take the shield, bend it the other way, and run your 2 pieces of wire out there through that plexiglass and solder the leads together and
just cut your wire
it up,
to the
man.
length
Hang it up.
where you're looking. And
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Just simple.
Tom.
Hey, talking about simple, guys, I got to call in. It's also going on close to midnight here, and I got.
All right.
In the morning, I got stuff I got to do, so I'm going to have to.
All right, we'll see you, man. Good night. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
See you later, bro. Good night.
Okay, 73, guys.
73.
Later.
This is simple to me.
Yeah.
This here is simple. SIMPLE.
Yep.
SO239.
Yep.
2 lengths of wire. Measured. And I have used this since 1995, and this has clocked at least 1,000 contacts doing DX from Grenada, Antigua, Jamaica, St. Vincent, a couple of Caribbean islands. Well, I travel with this everywhere I go in my bag with my 857 Delta and my portable antenna tuner.
Yep.
Oh, I do have something I wanted to ask about, though.
Uh-huh.
I was actually thinking of purchasing like a wideband receiver. There was a specific radio that I was looking at, and it receives between 100 kilohertz up to about 1.3 gigahertz.
Well,
and I was looking
that's extreme.
at it. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's an Alinco or ICOM radio, but regardless, I was looking at an antenna to receive in that bandwidth, and again, this is my not knowing what to take of it, but I was thinking for reception a disc cone antenna, but the receiving range of purchasable antennas range from around, we'll say, 20 megahertz up to 1.3 gigahertz, which covers a big portion of it, but then there's the lower portion from 26 megahertz down all the way to 100 kilohertz. Does that require the manufacture of another antenna and maybe like an antenna switch to switch between the two?
I think you're probably trying to push the limits to get something that works from low HF frequencies up that high. In fact, I mean most when you say world band receiver, I mean most of your shortwave receivers and stuff go from like 0.5 megahertz, which is the broadcast band, up to say 30 megahertz. I find it.
I have come across those. I actually found what's classified as a shortwave radio receiver that focuses on that band, but I've also found radios that go, from really low, like 100 kilohertz or less, to 1,300 megahertz. And
I mean that's the extreme range. I would think that would be a very, very expensive when you get up into gigahertz. I don't know. And back to your antenna.
Well,
I think.
Go back to the antenna.
Yeah.
I just looked on here. Okay, we just had a Tech in the Day thing, and we had a packet that we sent out for formulating antennas, using wire. And he said he wants to do something with CB, So if he was to do something like channel 19, which is, 27.185, it'd be 102 feet long, so 51 and a half feet on
that thing
both
could
legs.
be probably 100.
To do it.
It wouldn't be 100 feet long, not 100 feet.
Yeah, actually, I
It'd be
found the
inches.
radio. It's an Alinco radio that goes from 0.05 megahertz up to just under 3 gigahertz.
What?
And I was thinking,
Wow.
yeah, it's a
What's
handheld.
what's the model? Oh, well, a handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
Alinco.
look it up. It's if you go to dxengineering.com,
Yeah.
it's an ALO-DJ-X11T
Oh, well, give me that again. I want to look at this. ALO.
-DJ-X11T.
All right, let me look this up. I mean, I've been in radio for many, many years, and this just don't sound
I thought so too.
right to me. Plus, I mean, yeah. I mean, first of all, you're not going to hear much stuff up into 2 gigs, 3 gigs, 1.5 gigs. You're not going
I
to hear
don't
anything.
expect to, honestly.
Yeah, you're not going to hear anything. So let's see. Let me look at this. I want to see what you're looking at there. ALO DJ
Yeah, it's a
X11T.
handheld receiver that actually receives in that range. Does AM, FM, sideband, CW, everything.
ALO dash DJ dash.
Is that for civilian use or that's military? Because I know some of these manufacturers make these radio for military.
You can buy this thing for $319.
Oh, okay.
ALO DJ. Let me try again. It's on the wrong keyboard. Dash X. Is it XIIT or X11T?
X11T.
11T. Wideband handheld receiver. Let me look at this sucker.
Some more celebrity news here this weekend. Kanye West joined Instagram for the first time.
Yeah, I love receiving radio. And I love doing shortwave reception, any reception. Given that
All right.
I have a really old channel master radio,
All right.
I like that.
Okay, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the DJ X11T. That doesn't go up into gigahertz. It just goes up into 400 megahertz. And that's typical. It'll do .050. Let's see. Range 1. Range 1 is .050 to 1299 megahertz. So it'll go up to 1.2. Range 2 is 118 to 170, and range in receiver 3 is 336 to 469. So it will go up to 1.2 gigs, and that is a ham band. The ham band is in 1.2 gigs. But I would bet money you probably never hear anybody on it.
Well, as far as that radio goes, let's assume we're not listening to the other guy's reception.
Yeah.
Let's assume I were to acquire that radio, and I wanted to listen to that entire band.
Yeah.
And I've discovered that discone antennas have a massive reception range. Although all the antennas I've ever seen only receive around 20 megahertz minimum to about 1.3 gigahertz, actually much higher maximum. If I were to acquire this radio and let's say buy that particular antenna, what would I have to construct an antenna to receive everything between 26 and the minimum that this radio can receive?
Well, hang on a second. Let me look at something. First of all, you got real problems here because even the coax you've got is not going to work there. Let's say I'm looking at 1200 megahertz. If you're using RG8 or Beldam 8215 or RG8 coax, you're going to have 12 dB loss, which is and if you're running a transmitter, that'd be like 100 watts in with only 7 watts out to the antenna. You're going to have major loss on running any kind of coax to those frequencies. You'd have to run very low loss coax to an antenna.
Can we ignore this guy?
Yeah. Who's that? Who's that coming from?
Who is that with noise?
Well, let's see. Teresa. Hey, Teresa, is that you? Are you there? Teresa.
I'm here, but I've got my mic muted.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right, you got on. Great.
It's not me. I'm not listening to
trying to
anything
see.
you guys.
I'm trying to see who it's coming from.
I just lowered one away. She's fantastic. There she is.
I can't tell who it's coming from.
I say I've got it muted. I believe I've got it
Teresa,
muted.
it might be coming from. You got a ball game or something going on in the back, or noise, or radio?
Yeah, well, Mom's got the TV on. I guess that is me.
Yeah, that's you. It's coming from you. But hey, your browser got you in. Did you try? Is it a different browser you used?
Yeah, that's a different. It's a different browser. It's I got. Whoa. Explorer to work for me, but Firefox still is refusing to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I'm glad you got on. Now back to Macintosh. Don't like it. I forget it. I'm sorry. Let's see, Teresa. We're gonna have to mute you. Let's see, Teresa. Let's see, Teresa.
As evidenced by the 6 mile backup at the CBS self-checkout.
Teresa, can you mute your mic? So I can't mute you. There.
Let's see here. I can mute myself.
Yeah, at the top. There you go. Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. Stay with us though, and unmute it when you want to talk. But yeah, you're gonna have a tough time putting any type antenna on to cover that wide frequency range, and especially when you get up in the gigahertz range or high 500, 600, 800 megahertz, you're going to have such loss on RG8 that it's not even going to be worth putting an antenna out there, really. That radio is $300 and something, $319. Man, you could take it $319 and buy a nice, go on these ham stores and buy a nice used ham transceiver that would get you all band ham transceiver, sideband, everything for that price.
Actually, that's the funny part, because the same site sells a Linco receiver, specifically a shortwave receiver that receives from like 0.15 megahertz up to 30 megahertz, which is
right. That's your typical. That's typical.
Nearly as much. Yeah, it's not nearly as much as the handheld, but they want to charge like $449. Well, which is kind of funny.
Well, hey, the thing is, you buy you a ham transceiver. Most of them now are they have full tuning in it. You could tune anywhere from 0.5 to 30 or 50 megahertz on that same ham transceiver. You could use it as a receiver. It even tunes out of band. I'm just trying to give you some reality here. Of course.
Well, I need that because I was trying to decide between. I mean, when I look at a handheld that can cover that much bandwidth, and I think, wow, for $319, that's pretty good. But then I look at a Linco, which doesn't cover nearly as much, but does have much more. It's more sensitive. Like there's things that a handheld can't do that a home base station receiver can do. Like I love the turn of the of the dial whenever you're turning in frequencies, and I kind of wonder, I've noticed, this is something I've noticed, is that when I look at the dicone antennas, that they only hover from, the most that I've actually seen do not cover
They're not going to cover HF probably. They're probably just.
They don't cover. Yeah, they don't cover HF. They cover from.
That's because you're talking.
HF
You're talking too wide of a range, and I mean, if you're thinking about it, until you got to realize the cell phones in the U.S. they're in the 800, 900 megahertz band. Of course, cell phones are blocked in all these radios, so you won't be able to receive in those frequencies. The 1.2 gigs at top, that's going to be the 1.2 gig ham band. And you probably, unless you're in a very large metropolitan city where they've got hams that are operating the 1.2 band, you're probably never going to hear anything up there. I mean,
if you were to make a discone antenna for the lower HF bands, I'm guessing it would be really, really big.
For the HF, you don't need that for HF. I mean, you can. And for receive, I wouldn't worry about precision and cutting it to certain wavelengths. I don't know what your house is or what your yard or landscape is like. I don't know if you got any trees. But for HF, if you could just throw a piece of wire out the window and over a tree limb, it will work anywhere. From your low, 0.5 up to 30 megahertz, it'll work fine. Just a piece of wire thrown over a tree limb.
Oh,
so
here I thought I had to tune it.
no, you don't. Not on the receive side. Now, if you wanted to transmit, of course the impedance is not going to match and things like that. But
you have to make sure.
But for receive, shortwave listeners, particularly, I mean, you could stick a tuner on there and tune it. It would probably peak the signal a little bit, but if you don't have it on there, you won't know the difference. I'd just run me a wire outside, throw it over a tree limb, throw it over 2 tree limbs, throw it over the roof of the house. I guarantee you'll hear more signals than you expected to hear.
Okay, because I was actually kind of confused about that because...
Yeah. So that's what you need to do for HF, up to say 30 megs, 40 megs in that area. Now you start getting that into VHF and UHF, then you need more specific antennas. Again, if you're just going to receive, let's say you could take an antenna that's designed for say 144 megahertz. You could use that same antenna for receive on 430. It might not hear quite as good, but it would definitely hear stuff in your city, fire departments, police, other hams. I mean, you would hear all that. You don't have to, and you could actually. It'd be very easy. The thing is, at those frequencies, at 2 meters, at 144 megahertz, your loss is a lot less. When we're talking about the dB loss, 12 dB loss at 1.2 gigs, if we put in 145 megahertz, instead of 12 dB loss, you only got 3 dB loss per 100 feet. So if you've got a piece of coax running 100 feet, you're going to have 3 dB loss. That is exactly 1/2 the signal you'll lose.
It's not going to be anywhere near that long.
So. 50 feet. 50 feet at 50 feet, you'd have about 1.5 dB loss. And the thing is, loss is something you want to stay away from, but you never get a perfect antenna that works everywhere. And that antenna will hear any of those frequencies up there, and you probably would never tell the difference that much. Now, if you're going to transmit up there, 3 dB loss, you're going to lose half your power. If you got a 50-watt rig, you're going to get 25 watts to the antenna. But still, that will work. And when you start talking about an outside, working repeaters like on 2 meters. If you're walking around with a handheld with a little rubber ducky on it, you might work a repeater 2 or 3, 4 miles away, fairly easy. But if you've got an antenna up on the peak of the house and you got, 35 feet of coax going up there and hooked to your handy-talkie radio down in your house, you'll talk to repeaters, 30, 40, 50 miles away.
Okay, it was something I wanted to confirm because again, I have nobody else to talk to.
Yeah.
Whether or not, because I've seen advertisements for antennas, disc cones, whatever, that cover a certain range, but there are radios that receive well outside that range, and I wasn't sure if that actually mattered. So if I were to put up an antenna at any length to receive anything, that's pretty much what I should be doing.
And if you wanted to try to make more efficient an antenna, let's say you wanted to listen in the 150 megahertz band, maybe there's some fire or police there, or maybe there's some fire or police or something in the 450 meg band. You could run that coax up 35 feet to the top of the house. You could cut you a dipole for 2 meters and solder it on there. I'm talking a dipole for 145 megahertz. A dipole would be a half wavelength, so it'd be a quarter wave on each side. You're talking 19 inches on each side. So a wire or a rod, 19 inches wide, 38 inches long, cut in the center, and that coax hooked to it will make you a VHF antenna that you put up there. Now, if you want to optimize it where you can even pick up better the 440, the 450 meg band, I mean, this antenna will still pick it up. But if you want to make it even better, cut you a dipole for 450 megahertz and solder it at the top on the same piece of coax. In other words, you'll have 2 antennas up there soldered to the same piece of coax up there, and one of them will be cut for 450 and one will be cut for 150. So there's a lot of neat things you can do like that.
Yeah, I need to find somebody who's an expert, who's located in Dubai, who can explain this to me and really work the mathematics for me. Because, when I got into amateur radio, let's see, I got my license in 1994, back when I was 15, and a lot of it I didn't understand or barely understood, and now after years of barely doing it, now I'm getting back into it. So point up.
I'll just show everybody my little monitor there. See the little monitor?
Well, I hope I'm not keeping you here.
No, you're not. We're here to talk ham radio, and hey, I'll quit hogging it, and let's see. Well, let's see. Looks like Bill's been left. He's getting laid up on the East Coast. Jerry's still there. Jerry can fill you in.
He's working on something hardcore.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a lot I didn't know back then, a lot I didn't fully understand, and now I'm trying to get back into it. So I'm trying to make sure when it comes to receiving, it's better to just throw a wire, in a sense, out
for your
there.
HF out of work. So let me ask you, are you on Facebook?
Sort of.
You ought to join.
I have a Facebook page, but I don't like to use it because I'm not a big fan of social media. But I can if you want me to.
Well, let me just say this. I mean, I don't really. Everybody's got their personal Facebook page. I don't even use personal Facebook page. I've got a ham radio group, and if you'll just search on Facebook, type in w5kub.com, it'll bring you up to the ham radio group. And we talk about ham radio in there. Post pictures of ham radio, ask questions if you need help, and it'll show you what's on the show next week or different things, or there's all kinds of stuff going on there. So join us, w5kub.com, and there's plenty of people in there. We've got over 4,000 members in the group that can help answer your questions.
w5kub.com. Wait a minute, I have you bookmarked.
Yeah. So there's people that are in there that can help answer your questions if you have questions.
That's great. There's lots of antennas I'm looking to make. I don't know what it is about antennas. I love making antennas. I mean, I've made my own ground plane antenna. I made a ladder line antenna, and now I want to get really complicated is a good word.
Talking about making antennas, and if you're talking about VHF like 2 meters and stuff, you take an SO239, solder you a 19-inch wire in the center, and then solder you 4 19-inch wires on each of the little holes, stand it up in the air and screw the coax on it, and you've got a ground plane for 2 meters.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. I made an SO239 ground plane antenna.
Yep.
And it works perfectly.
Yeah.
I want to get like one thing I want to do is like make a what's it called a helix antenna, helical.
Yeah. Well, you know, helical. I've built those. I've used it. I've done a lot of satellite work over the years and satellite contacts and space station. And I used a helical antenna I made a contact through one of the satellites on 2.4 gigahertz. That was a downlink, and it's just a piece of, I think, about 2-inch PVC pipe, and it had a piece of number 12 wire wrapped around it, and it had on the very end, it had a square piece of a copper plate for the ground plane. And
yeah, I've heard that there's a difference between the two in that if you make the antenna based on if you make the antenna for the length of the wavelength you want to transmit on, it becomes a directional antenna. But if if you make it shorter, somewhat less, it becomes an omnidirectional antenna. And I want to kind of do, I want to do both. I want to do lots of omnidirectional antennas, directional antennas. I want to do both.
Well, spacing on elements and everything definitely changes the lobes and the patterns. Whether you're wide spacing elements or for short space and number elements and things like that. But pretty much, what it does on receive, it's going to do the same thing on transmit. It really doesn't know the difference. It's just the signal's going either out or it's coming in, but it usually has the same lobes, the same patterns. But yeah, it sounds. I enjoy building antennas and experimenting with antennas. I've got a lot of antennas out. I've shown some antennas on the show before. Have you seen the tape measure, like the 2-meter tape measure antenna? It's a piece of PVC pipe with 3 elements on it, and they're made out of a piece of tape measure. You can actually fold it up, and when you turn loose of it, it just straightens back out.
You use tape measure?
Yeah, tape measure.
Okay, I didn't see. I've only just joined you. So
well, just look it up. Look it up, and just do a search for 2-meter tape measure antenna, and you go down to Harbor Freight or somewhere. You get a free tape measure. You bust it open. You take the metal out. Now, the nice thing about the metal is, you can fold that sucker up and throw it in a bag or put it in your car, and when you take it out, those tape measure radials, they pop back out straight. So I made a 3-element. In fact, it's
like back in the day when you used to have the wrist slappers, they would hit your wrist, but they were basically just the same thing.
Yeah. In fact, some of the older satellites that went up, basically, they had a little vertical antenna on satellites. They were actually, I think they were actually tape measures type. It's folded up and in a little can, and when they shoot it out there in space and out of the container, that little antenna just pops straight up.
Now, something like, actually, now that I think about it, something like that would be ingenious for HF, because you could imagine making an HF ground plane antenna. You have the vertical element and all 4 that are just in this little bundle right here in your hand, and you can spread them out. That'd be ingenious.
And I've kind of thought and worked across those lines. For instance, I'm always experimenting with resonant antennas, meaning I don't want to put an antenna tuner on them. So a resonant antenna, like a ground plane, of course, you have to change the length to be resonant at a certain frequency. And by changing the length, if it's a piece of wire, you trim it shorter and shorter and shorter, or you add to it. The nice thing about it, and what I was wanting to do is, I was wanting to put a pulley up over a tree limb with a rope and come down, hook it to a tape measure end, mount a tape measure at the bottom, connect it to coax, and then I could either motorize that rope, like on a little wind-up pulley, and I could pull that tape measure up 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, and pull it up. And then if I just reversed the motor, the tape measure would retract, 5 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, and you can do that.
Idea for a vertical dipole.
Yeah, you could stretch it. In fact, when I was in the military, we had dipoles. The center device where the coax hooked, it had 2 reels of like tape measure type material in them, and you would actually pull the, if you were wanting to work, say, 7 megahertz, you would loosen a little thumb screw and you'd pull the tape out one side, and it was marked, there's 7 megahertz. You'd stop right there, you tighten it down. You'd pull it out on the other side of 7, you'd tighten it down, and you'd hang that thing up in the air, and it was like,
brilliant.
It was like, like a tape measure.
That's absolutely brilliant. That whoever patented that should be, they'd be a genius.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. But actually, when it comes to that, it just made me think of something. Dipole antennas.
Mm-hmm.
A horizontal dipole is directional in 2 directions, right?
That's true. Pretty much, yeah.
And when you set it vertically, it becomes omnidirectional.
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure about that because
and when it's horizontal, just think about it. When it's in horizontal, it's radiating all directions perpendicular to the wire. All directions. It's radiating up.
Okay.
It's radiating down. It's radiating to the sides. But since people are off the sides at some distance, that's what they're going to hear. But you're right. When you stand it up vertically, it's still radiating perpendicular at all directions.
Okay.
Now you can take a dipole. You can take a dipole and turn it into an inverted V, meaning if you can just hang the center insulator on a dipole and drop the ends down to like 35, 40 degrees, that will give you a much better impedance match to coax, and it will make it more omnidirectional because your wire is coming down and people are broadside off of it to both sides of the V and also off the ends.
But if it's not, once it's in that V configuration, is it omnidirectional or bidirectional?
Well, it's more bidirectional. You got lobes. You got some lobes that are with inverted V. You can actually talk any direction on it. So the signal is going out in both directions. You probably have your maximal signal going out broadside to the sides. But again, on an inverted V, when you drop those legs down, that changes the whole radiation pattern, and it will transmit then more off the ends of those legs in those directions.
Sounds like our friend is going in shortwave.
Might be.
But yeah, I know these questions sound really basic. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just get on our website and hey, talk to people and be glad to try to share our thoughts or.
Yeah, I didn't have this back in 1995.
Yeah, and hey, like I'm telling people, man, I said, don't go out and buy a $150, $200, $300 antenna and put it up when you can put a wire up between a tree and buy an auto antenna tuner and put it at the base of the antenna, and it'll tune any frequency, any band. And you won't spend any more money there than you would if you bought an antenna somewhere. Plus, if you bought an antenna, it's probably only going to have a bandwidth you can use of so many kilohertz inside of each band.
Assuming what that band is.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you go out and buy some 3-foot stubby antenna for CB. It's a whole other thing if you want to receive multiple bands because you have a multi-band receiver. I know.
Well, again, don't worry about receive. Don't worry about receive. You just get something up and it'll receive.
Yeah, I know. Yep. Just wanted to make sure I covered that part. And
yeah.
What's our friend Jerry doing?
I don't know what he's doing.
Oh, jeez. What you doing, Jerry?
I am trying to clean up these boxes, gentlemen. I'm trying to clean up these boxes. And I found my old mobile mount
but the cable is corroded, degraded, etc., etc. So I'm about to go put in a couple of these.
Yep.
On the back of this.
That's mobile? That looks kind of big for mobile.
Yeah, it holds a whip for an HF rig.
That's right.
It probably goes on its trunk or the hood.
That's the trunk. That's a lid, trunk lid mount.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, guys, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to turn the webcast off. Good night to everybody that's still watching out there. We've got viewers out there still watching, I guess, a few.
Yeah. Well, thanks for all your knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm going to
say good night to everybody, and let's see.